Anything new you're seeing? Anything new you have seen on the screen? Kuna mower, kuna lawn mower. There's a lawn mower. Unaona kitu chochote kipya kwa screen? That's a lawn mower iko nje. Unatumia mbele?
Sasa iko mbele imewaka. But you know when we speaking there, the body is on the table.
Ndio sasa nilikuwa nataka chukue ambience. Sawa, naongea sasa. Nasikia nini kiongea? Sijamsalimia bado. Okay. Oh. Sawa sawa.
You're leaking.
Okay, can you hear me now? Gift. Mic testing, can you hear me now? Gift. Mic testing, can you hear me now? Gift. Testing mic, can you hear me now? 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 Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. This is the CBC Sensitization Workshop for the Senate group. This is the CBC for the Senate group. We may not know much about the delay because we do not have anyone who is on video for lip syncing. We may not know if there is any delay because we don't have anyone for lip syncing. Let me go. Okay.
Director. There was a parliamentary question on the junior secondary teacher training. Now this is what I'm saying. I needed to say so that we agree. We are currently working closely with the National Treasury and the agency. What you really should
tumeweka bundles. Itaangusha hiyo, itaangusha hiyo na kuna maana.
Inabidi.
We want to test for lip syncing. We want to test for lip syncing. So now the image is going to come to my face so that we can test for lip syncing. Please confirm that you can hear me loud and clear. Please confirm that, yes, to the speaker. Please confirm that you can hear me loud and clear. Please confirm that there is lip syncing. Kindly confirm to me, Gift, if you can hear me loud and clear. Kindly confirm if the lip sync is on point. Kindly confirm if the lip sync is on point. Kindly confirm if the lip sync is on point. I am waiting for your response. I am waiting for your response, Gift. This is the CBC Sensitization Workshop for the Senate group. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear back to the studio. Please confirm if the lip is syncing back to the studio. Kindly confirm if there is lip sync in the studio. Please confirm if there is lip syncing in the studio. Please confirm if there is lip sync in the studio. Kindly confirm if there is lip sync in the studio. Kindly confirm if there is lip sync in the studio. Gift, please kindly confirm. Studio, kindly confirm. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Elmar Songe from Kenyan Institute of Curriculum Development.
Good morning. My name is Christine Seranga from the Ministry of Education.
Good morning. My name is Rose Butete from KCD. Good morning. My name is Robert Sibibi from KCD.
I'm Sunday Edric from TC.
Good morning. My name is George Mabonga from KCD.
My name is John Kimoto from KICD, in charge of educational media.
Thank you very much. Could we move to the other side of the floor and we start at the back and then down the back row? Right from the back, the lady next to the photographer.
Good morning. I'm Chrissy Kihana, TV47.
Good morning, everybody. All the protocols observed. My name is Willie Dennis Chiro, TV47. Good morning. My name is Isaac Jenga, VOA.
Good morning. My name is Alice Manyama from Sen.
Good morning. My name is Wanati Shabak from Senate.
Good morning. My name is Alfred Igera from the Senate.
Good morning. My name is William Taylor from the Senate.
Thank you very much, everybody. Of this committee, Senator Mingo, please stand because we want to acknowledge you in a special way, even as you introduce yourself. Please stand and introduce. Let her introduce.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Senator Dr. Alice Mingo, Chair of this committee. I welcome all of you.
Could we give a round of applause to ourselves and this great team? I asked our chair to stand to acknowledge the role she plays in this committee. You might be aware that this is one of the most vibrant committees in the House and with a lot of interaction that we've had with our stakeholders. We have this session now, we've done a lot of work. I'm sure you know about the ECD bill, which we managed to push, and you know how difficult it is to push some of these bills. They take a long time. We're working on the TVET bill. And in our work, we tend to get lots of questions. We interact and pass these as questions from members. When members ask these questions, they expect answers from us, as though we are the ones who work in the various organizations. You might have been amused recently on the floor of the House when Senator Outa, who is a member of this committee, but also chair of security, when he spoke, I think 2-3 days ago, and he said, we will make sure, we will follow the bandits, we will make sure we organize. And then people asked, you as who? As the committee, do you have the power? And he explained, no, we have complained, and this is the passion we felt. But we are able, through what we hear, to shape. And some of the questions we get, we have already the answers because we've been able to interact. So we really have quite a lot to cover this morning. We have a broad range of topics. This is going to be a challenge doing all this at the same time. A broad range of topics, including overview of Kenyan Institute Curriculum Development, KICD. We have the status of education, conducting remote learning, textbook. We have challenges from the ministry based on the CBC, and that is the area of interest. Everyone is talking about this. And you have had recently in the media, you know, what people are saying, and people are saying, should we go back to 844? I think it's just information gap. And once that information gap is filled, and that will help us to be able to get there, we're looking at strategies to be able to ensure that some counties, I think, meant to be are not marginalized, the interface and fusion between Ministry of Education, KICD, TSC. Why have I gone through this? It's because we have a lot to cover, and the section that I'm meant to be handling are the remarks. These are opening remarks, so we can make our remarks very brief and introductory, and then leave the main subject matter. Because sometimes technology is a challenge. I think I'm loud enough. So most of the time we tend to, what is I saying?
No, you are loud, but we want to
want to record? Okay, so I'll just repeat for the purposes of recording just a little bit because we are still at the remarks. So when we make our remarks, we just make them preliminary and then we'll come back again and address the major issues. So with your kind permission, allow me to call upon the first person who is making opening remarks, and this is Mr. Johnson Zioka, Chairperson, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development Council. Karibu sana, Mr. Zioka. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Senator. The chair of the Senate Standing Committee on Education, Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, the Vice Chair, Senator Dr. Zani, other senators with us, the TSC CEO represented by Dr. Ndaburi, the directors from the Ministry of Education, CEO KICD, Professor Charles Ogodo, the management staff with us today. Good morning. I wish to first and foremost recognize and appreciate the members of the KICD Council who are with us. And let me start with Dr. Jengele. Dr. Jengele is a member of the council. Just wave, Dr. Jengele. Thank you very much. We have Dr. Gaturu, who is, I believe, on the way. And then we have Professor Ogondo, who is also with us. Chair, Senator Dr. Milgo, may I say that we feel humbled to have your committee having seen it wise to engage with the KICD on this very important aspect of the implementation of our new curriculum reforms. Your honor to engage with us is more than what we have ever expected, because I believe this is the first time that your committee is engaging with the KICD to be briefed on what is going on and what has already taken place. So we are feeling very privileged. Today, we feel safe because you know what has been going around in the media about the curriculum, and when your committee calls us to engage with us, we feel we are safe because we want to brief you properly so that when you are also engaging with your colleagues in the Senate and with other stakeholders, then you are standing from a properly informed point of view. We want to believe the implementation of this curriculum will be given even a more active momentum by your committee, and we are sure that from today we will have received new energy. As a council, we have been well briefed by the management step by step from the far that the curriculum has taken place to implement, from the far it is started up to this much we have gone. As a council, we have been briefed step by step. We have no doubt whatsoever the due process have been followed in the development of this curriculum, and we hope your input today will enrich this process. Honorable Chair and members, your engagement and input today will be very much welcome, and it will be taken with all the seriousness it deserves. I wish to welcome you for the engagement and thank you once again for allowing us to come and have a sitting with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was very good and precise. And soon after, we're going to have the overview of the Kenyan Institute Curriculum Development report on the status. So this is where we'll delve into the issue further. The next presentations should have been from Principal Secretaries, the Department of Early Learning and Basic Education. I think they are making their way here. The representatives here. I think they are making their way here. So when they come, we will introduce and allow them to make their remarks. The Principal Secretaries, the Department of Curriculum Reforms and Implementation. Welcome.
Okay, good morning. Good morning again. Yes, on behalf of the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Implementation of Curriculum Reforms, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for bringing us here. Honorable Chair of the Senate Education Council, Dr. Alice Milago, and the Deputy Dr. Honorable Alice Nzani. Thank you. Agnes, sorry. Thank you so much, Alice Agnes, sorry for that. Thank you so much for thank you so much for the opportunity for us to meet you as the State Department. I would just like to say that this is the latest State Department in the Ministry of Education that began its operation in May, and the purpose was really to oversee the implementation of the curriculum reforms. So that is our main purpose, and that is why we are here. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much for that. And indeed, we were at KCC, I think, for the lounge, which was very flamboyant, very well organized. Paperwork was all given. Reading was to be done. I don't know how much of the reading was done by those who carried the materials away. And we really appreciated that. From the task force led by Professor Chege, if I remember, she made the presentation. Yeah. So thank you for that brief, and I'm sure we'll keep interacting as we go on. I'd like to give a few minutes to Senator Musurube, who has just walked in, so that she can also just introduce herself. Senator, kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you, Senator Dr. Zani. I'm Senator Dr. Musurube from Kakamega County, and representing persons with disabilities in the Senate, and I'm pleased to be part of this group so that we are informed more about what KICD is doing with regard to competency-based curriculum. Karibuni nyote.
Thank you very much, Senator. And we will have other senators coming in as we move on during the day. Some have rushed to other responsibilities and they've also come here. So next we'd like to hear from CAS Ministry of Education. Are they here? Representative, so we expect to hear from them later on. And then we move now to representative from Teacher Service Commission, Secretary, Chief Executive Officer, Teacher Service Commission. Kindly make your remarks. Karibu.
Thank you, Session Chair, Senator Dr. Agnes Nzani, the Senate the Committee Chair, Dr. Alice Milgo, and Dr. Musurube present this morning, Ministry of Officials present, and Director KICD, Secretary, Kenya National Examination Council, and the Chair of KICD. Good morning. On behalf of CEO, Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Nancy Macharia, Chair, I want to say that she was not able to come this morning. She was engaged in another assignment, and she requested that I represent her in this session. On behalf of the Commission, I want to say that Teacher Service Commission is very grateful to have interacted severally with the senators and the Senate Committee in Education on a number of areas that we are always requested to address. And we want to say, as a Commission, we really feel supported by the Senate and the way that you really went ahead to make sure you are pushed even our budgets, and also making sure that even the CBC budgets for teacher training are properly secured. And the issues that you have really fought for us, we are really feeling excited about it. And we are hoping that this process will continue so that our teachers will feel they are completely supported and they are able to do what is expected of them. The teachers of the country are very critical in making sure the CBC implementation is done as expected by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and the Kenya National Examination Council. And therefore, when we will be making the other deeper presentation, we will be giving more information on the issues that are there and the things that we are presenting to the Senate this morning. But we feel encouraged, and thank you for inviting Teacher Service Commission, because we work as a team. Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development develops the content on curriculum. Kenya National Examination develops assessment content, and TSC basically coordinates the teacher training using all the members present. And therefore we feel very excited when we invite a session like this one, that we are together again to share the things that are there and also dispel the ideas that are there out in the public of what is not working and what is working, because we are actually the ones doing the process. So we are very grateful to have been invited. We look forward to share with you more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We engaged quite intensely, or is it intensively, with TSC recently on an issue that had been raised for Kajiado County, and the issue of promotions. And I'm happy we were able to, it was, I think, a communication disconnect issues, and we really engaged for a long time until all the members were satisfied, and that issue was amicably solved. So we really thank you for that, and all the other engagements. This is the one that comes more recently to mind. I'll go just a little bit back and ask the Principal Secretary, State Department of Early Learning and Basic Education representative. I'm informed they're here. Could you kindly come and make your opening remarks? Karibu.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Mary Gaturu. I am the Director of Quality Assurance and Standards. And together with me in this forum is Madam Nerea Orik. Maybe you can put up your hand for the plenary. She's the Director of Primary Education, where we are now implementing the CBC. We have, I can see Fred Hager, the Director Special Need Education. Please, Haga, you can put up your hand. That tells you how we have taken the issue of special need very seriously. I want to just put some few remarks on behalf of the PS. He is not able to be here today. I'm sure you are aware that that office is usually very engaged. But I want to appreciate the fact that we have been able to move together with the support of the Senate, and we have been able to do a lot in as far as competency-based curriculum is concerned. All of us know that we are coming from a system which most of us have been through, that have condemned our children and called them failures. simply because of an examination that has been done in a few hours after a child has been in school for very many, many years. And it is time for us to be able to look at our children and see them in what they can be able to do best and support them. And this is where we are. And we want to appreciate the Senate and the government at large that for this a number of years that we have been in the competency-based curriculum, we have been able to achieve quite a lot. And being a new thing, we are bound to continue meeting challenges to be able to improve on ourselves. That's why such a forum is very important, so that you can be able to tell us as a Senate, because we interact on the ground where we think that we can be able to address the gaps. And together when we address the gaps on behalf of our child. So we are ready as a ministry to continue engaging, to continue getting feedback from all the stakeholders for the purpose of making our child a better tomorrow. So I would want to say that we are ready, we are open. Anytime you want to engage with us, anytime you have issues that come from the stakeholders and the community that we represent, let us be able to make things clear where they are not clear. Let us be able to make changes ourselves which we are implementing so that it can be acceptable by all. So that's what I would want to say for now. As I had said, our PS was not able to come. If he joins us at the middle of the session, we shall still continue with this engagement. Otherwise, I want to wish you well in this engagement, and thank you.
Thank you very much. For those who are parents and for those who are engaging with children who are going through CBC, there's clearly a change. You know, interesting things that they do, interesting small things that they're able to do. Of course, the media has exaggerated, and especially when you look at the WhatsApp pages, they're saying a group of students stood somewhere and a matatu was passing, and then the conductor, a driver, had not had business that day. When they stopped, the teacher said, "And this is a matatu." Then they walked back to school and the class, and the matatu was left disappointed. But these are the myths we want to demystify. We must be ready to go to the next step. We know this is the way to go. This is how even the currently developed countries were able to make that leap, to give, I think, a more holistic education, even in matters moral, in matters patriotism, in matters ethics, which is very, very important. So we thank you for that. Fred Haga, I must acknowledge you. You know where we come from. We won't say so much, but we were in the same program for our scholarship, so we went out to study. So when introduced, I think we were still dealing with technology, but we come a long way, so it's really such a pleasure to re-link again with you, Fred Haga, in this session. And then I want now to move to the next presentation from the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya National Examination Council, Karibu.
Thank you very much, Session Chair, Dr. Agnes Zani, the Chair of the Senate Committee on Education, Dr. Alice Milgo, Senator Musulube, the CEO, NEC, the Chair, CEO KICD, sorry, my mind is still in NEC, and the Chair of the KICD Council, the representatives of the Principal Secretary, State Department for Early Learning and Basic Education, the representative of the Principal Secretary, State Department for Curriculum Reforms Implementation, the representative of the CEO Teacher Service Commission, the directors present, primary and special needs education, colleagues from KICD. I still consider myself child of KICD, when you have spent 20 years of your life in an institution, it's very difficult to assume that you can leave that institution completely. As we have been guided, we're supposed to make opening remarks, and we'll have a chance to make substantive comments from our respective institutions. And coming from NEC, of course, I have to follow instructions to the letter. Otherwise, I'll fail the exam. I just want to say that I'm glad, particularly, that Dr. Zani is here with us, because I remember in 2019, we had an engagement at Nashipai with the Senate when Professor Magoha was appointed the CS, and we had quite some lengthy engagements around CBC. By then, we were trying to steady the ship. It was more turbulent than now. And I'm glad that we got a lot of technical support. I remember we engaged with her extensively. I think it helps when there are not too many. You are able to have more. You are able to get more useful engagements, and we engaged extensively on this. And I'm also glad that actually, of the two houses of parliament, in my opinion, the house that has higher stakes on CBC is the Senate, for two reasons. Reason number one of your colleagues, Senator Professor Sam Ongeri, was the Minister for Education in 2011 when he appointed the task force chaired by Professor Odhiambo. And the purpose of that task force was singular. It was to align the education sector to the Constitution of Kenya and Vision 2030. And it is from that task force report, the recommendations of that task force, which sat from February of 2011 to February of 2012, when they presented their report to the then Minister for Education, Professor Ongeri, it contained all the recommendations we are implementing in CBC. That is when CBC was born. So Professor Ongeri actually is a grandfather of CBC. Exactly. Because it is the task force he appointed that made those recommendations. And there are 4 major recommendations in that task force, which we are implementing to the letter without changing anything. 1, the task force report recommended that we need to change the structure of education in Kenya. 2, the task force recommended that we need to adopt a competency-based approach in both curriculum and assessment. That same task force made far-reaching recommendations on the other issues we need to do, like value-based education, community service learning. All those came from that task force report. And then the final one, and which is very important, one of the terms of reference that Professor Ongeri had given that task force was that it was required to develop the bill. The basic education bill we are having today is a product of that task force. So if anyone said, therefore, that the Senate is not the grandfather and the grandmother of CBC, then I think they will be very wrong. The last point I want to make, and why I feel that the Senate has a very high stake in ensuring that this CBC is implemented, is that we all know that in the history of education in the world, and I won't spend too much time on this, Professor Ngondo will start signaling me to stop. Education globally was always conceptualized first from the university. That was the first level of education that we had in the world. It started from university. Then people started asking, what kind of persons are we having coming to university? Can we create a structure that can be preparing those learners? They created secondary education. After creating secondary education, they said, I think the persons we are taking to secondary require another layer. They came up with primary education. And for centuries, they forgot completely about pre-primary education. So for a very long time in the history of education in the world, and even in Kenya, it was assumed that education begins from primary. And pre-primary was completely neglected. It is only with this task force that it was found necessary to create a structure legally that allows us to mainstream pre-primary education into the education structure. So before this task force, with the 844 system, which people are saying, well, I don't want to converse because the issue is in court. But as Dr. Nzani has said, if we go the way we are being told, go back to 844, then we are saying, kill pre-primary education. Because 844 has no room for pre-primary. 8 years is 8 years of primary education. It is only with CBC that we have now mainstreamed, and actually it was a requirement of Vision 2030. Way back in 2008, the first medium-term plan after Vision 2030 actually required that we should mainstream pre-primary into primary education by 2010. So hence, if you're talking about going back to 844, then the Senate should be the first one to take the placards and say, we are going to kill pre-primary education. It's only through CBC that we are able to mainstream in a legal and structural way to make sure that this is in place. So I'm glad that we have a chance to make these opening remarks, and later I'll only be talking about issues assessment. But if we have a moment, we will also need to interrogate the basis on which this 844 came into being, and understand that honestly, if Kenyans take time to look at the facts are very clear that 844 was premised on very shaky ground. Remember, even the task force that was set up to establish, that gave the recommendations on 844, had been established to deal with second university, the McKay report. McKay had not been asked by anyone to give us a new structure. He had only been asked to advise government on how we can have our second university. So it was by the way that, okay, as we establish second university, can we also change the structure to 844? And it is only the task force that Professor Ongeri set up that deliberately set up to address the issues of structure and the approach that we should adopt in this country in as far as curriculum is concerned. So thank you very much. I look forward to more engagements. Asante.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking us back memory lane to Enashipai. And let me take this opportunity to also thank Professor Magoha for his leadership. Professor Magoha is my boss at the University of Nairobi, has been my boss at the University of Nairobi. So it was an interesting day when we were meeting that day. You have to question your boss. But we did very well. We did very well because we set the pace for certain things like what I'm calling evaluation. I hear you calling it assessment. And that's a real area where that more discussion probably needs to take place and more information needs to come out from. So I'm happy we'll be hearing from that. We'll be sure to pass the information and message to Professor Ongeri in case he has forgotten. When we go there, we just say, hello, grandfather. Yeah. And thanks also to that initiative from Professor. Many times in Kenya we say we have a problem of implementation, good reports, but we don't implement. So the task force report that was implemented to bring CBC into being and also the Basic Education Act that I think is very, very important and very, very key. And that takes us to where we need to be able to go to in whatever it is that we do. So I think we are done with there are representatives from Ministry of Education? Sorry? That's you. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Why I'm checking is because I know the other sections that will come in will be very interactive, so we'll need to hear from, and that's why we always like having all the stakeholders. Before, some time back in the 11th Parliament, we'd have one member, the stakeholder there, another one is not there. Then they say, you know, we did our part, but when we moved it to the other stakeholder, they did not do their part. But when we are all together, then we can better inform each other. So we've come to the end, and now we're calling upon the chair to make her preliminary remarks. But I want us, with your indulgence, to just readjust the schedule a little bit so that we don't take a health break, and that after she has done her introductory remarks, she can just take us through the second session. And that way I think we catch up time-wise. We are at 10:30, and then we can flow with the program as expected. This is what is called the AA team. AA team is Alice and Agnes. And did you say it? You are the ones who say it. Sometimes you have people calling me Zani. My name is Zani, Zakaria, from Zakaria Zani. Zakaria Zani worked at the TSC as a commissioner in the 80s as well. So I started to know about TSC and the role of TSC at that young age when I was at the secondary. But I'm just saying this in zest, the AA team. AA, Agnes and Alice, and of course other members, but AA, I think also in the performance of education. You will notice in this committee, we've been very lucky to have professionals in education. People have been in the university, teaching in the university. We have had Professor Ongeri. Sometimes we have adjustments, but we really want to acknowledge even those members past, because we cannot control our committee readjustments when they are made. Yeah. We've had Professor Kamal in this committee. We've had, we now have also Professor Ekal. So by God's grace, one way or another, it's made it also very easy for us to process some of the issues that we want to process from time to time. So without further ado, let me welcome the chair, Senator Alice Milgo, to make her opening remarks and to carry us through session 2. I only request that at the end of that session, when we go to our lunch break, because sometimes we miss the moment and we regret that we didn't do it now, is that everybody moves out in different directions, and that we end up with a photograph that is not complete. So if possible, immediately after, if you never please be on standby, so that we then go and do the photograph then, and then we proceed to lunch. Asanteni, thank you, we've had a good session. We move to the end of this session and into session 2. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair, Dr. Agnes Sani. First of all, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Standing Committee on Education to first of all welcome us all to this meeting. I want to say indeed this is a great day. One of the rare opportunities again to engage, and now I'm feeling that I think we should have done this far much earlier. But then, as it is said, it's better late than never. So let me recognize our great visitors who are in the house today. Let me start with the KICD, who has actually ensured that we are here today, led by the acting chair of the council, KICD, Johnson Shoki, and Shoka, Johnson Shoka, Professor, the director of KICD, Professor Charles Ongondo, the representative from Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Ruben Ndamburi. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing all the names, I'm sorry. Okay, directors from the various state departments of education. And today I'm glad to have met my former DO, Madam Nerea Olik. Let me recognize her specially, having been my DO in my former engagements. Thank you, Madam. And let me also recognize the members, all members that have been invited to this meeting, the senators present, the secretariat, members of the Fourth Estate, and let me say, feel welcomed. I'm sure this is going to be a very fruitful engagement. I want to say from the onset that this is indeed a very important session for us, because we've been, as a committee, we've been receiving very many questions. Sometimes people would have felt maybe this committee is doing nothing, because we have had complaints from very many parents. First of all, I want to say that lack of communication and dialogue would actually cause people to speak otherwise. So we've been having engagements where people have been speaking at each other instead of actually coming together and dialogue. I want to say that education itself will actually make a country make or break. And the type of education goes a long way to actually ensure that a country will prosper or not. And in this particular case, we know education plays a very critical role in providing the skills that spur development in any country. And of course, I think today we are going to fill the gap that has been missing in terms of actually knowing. In fact, this year, where as a committee, we are learning that one of our own, Professor Sam Ongiri, is actually the brainchild of CPC, and of course is now the grandfather, as he's now called. I'm sure that is one thing we'll take to him. He'll be very excited. He had a lot of passion about this. And I want to say that a lot of grapevine information has been going around, very many issues coming around CPC itself. In fact, I've been invited myself to speak to the mayor there on two occasions, but I declined because I said, let me listen to the horse's mouth first before I go to make any comments, any remarks over the media, because that one will be taken more specifically coming from Chair Education Senate. People will take it to be the rule. And I said it is important to engage first. And I think going away from this meeting today, we can speak wherever we shall stand. And from the onset, the few remarks that I've had to, we've already gotten, I'm realizing that we'll have so much to say, and it's going to be a turnaround, so that we'll have several areas where we will be speaking good about CPC itself. It is one thing that I've already noted is the fact that actually, although we've been in education for a long time, we had never known that pre-primary education was looked out. We only just felt it was there all the time. So actually that is the foundation of education, and now I'm happy CPC is the one that brought on board. When we even go out to speak to people about that, I'm sure that will be one of the critical issues that people will take up and be proud of. I want to say that we've been treated as a chair, as I've gone round, I've had to be asked several questions. Of course, I did not have any answers. I've been pretending that give me time, I'll get them, I'll be able to plug them out, but actually I knew nothing. And it is unfortunate that, as I said, we've been going on for a long time. The top parliament is almost coming to an end. And yet we are not stamped that authority specifically in the crown. So many of the things that I'm sure we shall fill the gap today are like issues where, as a chair, I've been asked, why is it that there is the form of assessment and evaluation to learners is not actually, it's not very proper. Not very proper. The assessment, not very proper, and even the evaluation. And of course, I could not be able to explain. Again, the issue of parents that are not cooperative, or even if they wanted to cooperate, I'm sure this is CPC itself is skills intensive, and in most cases requires a number of issues. I was imagining that if we were very serious as a country, I think in 2013, our government came on board and said they are going to supply each and every kid a laptop. I don't know how far it is. Maybe when guys will speak to us, they'll tell us how far they've gone with provision of those computer kits, gadgets to the kids. That would have gone a long way to actually enhance the teaching of CPC. Parents have had to have a challenge, more specifically because much of the assessment, much of the assignments will involve bringing parents on board. Sometimes a parent may have smartphone, but then the challenge is where is the power is not there. And even if power is there, sometimes it's hard to get bundles. Pie bundles, lack food. Is it food or bundles, whichever is better. So of course you'll realize that parents will definitely go and buy food and then leave electricity, even if they are on mains electricity or whatever. So what it is that this has actually brought a lot of challenge. In addition to that one, again, issues of lack of workshops. I was imagining we have so much money going to the counties. As Senate, we've been crying and saying, we wish the ministries would stamp their authority. There is a lot of money. Money goes to the counties that we actually fought as a Senate to go to the county governments. Money goes to the county development funds, constituency development fund, normally called government CDF. And these monies, I heard our president pronouncing another time that the DCDF should be used also to put up classrooms. I would have wished the Ministry of Education would engage even members of the National Assembly who have the fund. And then we would go, would go a long way to put up the workshops, put up the computer labs, and then I think by so doing, we shall ensure that our people get value for their money. Just apart from that, we have had challenges again, especially with COVID-19. You realize that I think CPC, which is now skills intensive, would have brought on board, that is gadgets like computer, and education would have gone on without any fuss. Many of the teachers have said that is implementation is a bit shallow. I do not know, you'll be able to tell us that. How shallow is it? Or implementers who are trained in a more shallow way itself. And I think KICD will show us what else, how else could we have treated, how could we have trained the trainers. I was even wondering, we have officers that are supervising the curriculum. We have others right at the ground level, such as CSOs. We have others that is in the counties now. We do not know, are they trained to be able to supervise this particular curriculum? That is the question that runs the minds of members of the Education Committee. It runs across other members. It runs across the brains of the senators. And sometimes we are tasked over questions we cannot immediately answer. And as I said, this meeting will go a long way to become a game changer in this particular, in this CPC. Other issues that we have come across is the issue of overcrowded classrooms again, to the extent that some of the classrooms are having above 80 and even more, 80 and more kids. And you can have an imagination, being a skills intensive, being a very intensive curriculum, the teacher has got to actually have that one-to-one interaction with the learner. And it actually becomes very challenging when you have over 100, the session of one lesson or so, and then that means some of the kids will be left out. Other issues would be maybe sometimes people are asking, why were stakeholders not engaged in the piloting stage? Surely, maybe we'll be able to learn before the close of this meeting how piloting was done, so that we are able to say people are even called to come on board, but people neglected because people sometimes we learn from right now the exercise that is going on in this country is for the registration. But after a short while, you'll realize that at the end of the 1 month that has been given, people will come up and say there are no gadgets, we did not have time, we are not available, we still need more time. Yet there is time. Right now, sometimes you see the clerk sitting and there is nobody registering. It might the same way, maybe during the piloting stage, people are called on board, but nobody took interest because they were saying we want to go back to the 844 and so on and so forth. But I think every system of education, if I can say standing here, we were one of the people who were in the university then, when 844 was being proposed, and then all of us were hitting 844, saying Karakanas will be where, what will happen, it is not going to be successful, the first system was better. And then right now, everybody is crying, they want the 844 that they were hitting earlier. You know, that means it is very hard to satisfy man. You got to do the right thing at the right time. Yes. So, I think that issues of syllabus content again that has been told to be it is beyond the learner capability. So I hope you'll be able to explain again that one, so that we are at the point of no. And the fact that it's normally rushed, there is not enough time. There was not enough time to actually engage and actually bring teachers on board. And just before I close my remarks, the one that is now a nightmare, wanting to train the teachers who are already in the field. In fact, some of the questions that the teachers are asking us is, why not begin from those that are in college so that we proceed? As those ones coming out from college, as we churn out graduates, we are churning out graduates that are able to handle CPC, churning out quality assessment officers that are capable of handling that, so that we don't have to actually force the teachers to go back. I'm glad the representative and Amburi who is here, you are here representing the CEO, Dr. Nancy Macharia, that teachers are asking, why are we being forced to go back to class again? Why? That is one. Number two, why are they being forced to go and pay? I mean, it's a government. Why not be trained? That the government can actually pay for this, be trained. Why are we localizing this training in areas where a teacher, just apart from paying school fees, you have to travel several kilometers away? That of course involves boarding facilities as well. And of course, we are making it even more expensive. And more specifically, we are bringing on board the teachers who are not employed. Some of them have sold everything they had to actually ensure that they got this particular training. And right now, we are going back we are now going back to ensure that we train these same teachers again. How is it? I think that is a very critical issue that should be addressed as a matter of urgency. And again, when it comes to special needs education, some of the teachers were also questioning, where are the gadgets to be used by the special needs kids? There are those that are, I'm glad my colleague is here, Senator Dr. Musuruve. And then one of the complaints, they are asking me, Chair, why is CPC not really considering the special needs cases? And I'm happy Madam Mary is here, Madam Mary from Special Needs. That is issues of gadgets. Where are they? Where are these gadgets? Are they now? Maybe there is only one gadget. Those are the issues running around. And at the course of your presentation, I will still have a host of questions from our table. But right now, I just said in my introductory remarks, let me just touch on this, so that maybe at the course of your presentation, you can be able to answer some in one way or another. Otherwise, once again, let me say you are most welcome. I'm sure today, at the end of this communication, we shall bridge the gap. Maybe not fully, but then we shall continue engaging. And I'm sure, finally, CPC will be the way to go. Because CPC, to me as a person, I was afraid to go and support it over the media. I want to go to the media now after this and say, this is what I got, and these are the real developers of curriculum, and the way this is this, because I support myself, because I support skills that shall inspire economy in our country. Because we have been talking about Vision 2030, that is hard to achieve. We have a few years to go. It is hard to achieve without the skills. We are talking about Agenda 2063. We have even talked about the 4-pillar agenda in our country, and all of them are skills intensive. unless we turn around our education system. And of course, I think CBC is the way to go. We only want to bring it out very clearly and continue sensitizing people, continue engaging people. Let us get out of our offices, go to the field, explain to people the importance of this, explain to teachers the importance of training, explain to the special needs people that you are even providing these gadgets one. And so I think you'll be able to satisfy people, and then we shall reduce the temperatures that are so high in the country right now. With those very many remarks then, thank you once again. May God bless us all, and you are most welcome. Feel at home. Thank you. This is a fun one. Okay, so thank you. Thank you. Madam Vice Chair is telling me her session was over, and I'm now taking over. It's very funny to speak and then suddenly take over. But then, I think without much ado, because I've already spoken, I'm most privileged again to bring on board Professor Charles Ongondo, Chief Executive Director, KICD, to take us through an overview of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and report on the status of curriculum development and implementation. Let's put our hands together to welcome him. One, surely. I think we have just come from taking some breakfast. Kindly, let us put just one so that he is able to bring out all. Okay, one. Thank you very much. Most welcome. Okay, welcome.
Thank you very, very much, Senator Dr. Agnes Zani. Tongue twisters here. Dr. Alice Mulgo, who is also the chair of the Senate Education Committee. Thank you very much, Senator Dr. Agnes Zani, Senator Dr. Museruve. There's always a first one. So, Chair, it's my first time to be introduced by a senator to speak. I wish I had more such moments. They uplift the
and
spirit.
I wish I had sat down and get all the credentials so that I could have really.
No problem. We can repeat that at some point. I'll be glad to. But let me start by acknowledging you officially, Chair, Dr. Alice Mulgo, other senators present, Dr. Zani, Dr. Musuruve, Council Chair, and Chair, for your information, other than Mr. Nzioka, Dr. Jengere David, and Dr. Gaturu Alice also sit on the KICD Council, representing Kenya National Examinations Council, representing Ministry of Education. We also have a representation of the Teacher Service Commission on the KICD Council, but not Dr. Namburi, who is here. That is somebody else called Mr. Gabriel Madenge. So, Chair, Council members who are present here, representatives of the PS, State Department of Early Learning and Basic Education, PS, Curriculum Reforms Implementation, other directors from the ministry, other colleagues, officers from the Senate, good morning. God is good, and all the time. Yes. We are really, really honored to have you, members of Senate. This is my second time to appear before you. And the first time it was online. And I told you at the end of that session that I was so happy because when I was coming to appear before you, there were a lot of butterflies. I was looking forward to being told, order, 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 many times. And occasionally maybe being told I wasn't out of order. But I was very happy because the engagement was very intense, very, very focused and exciting. I will go straight to the point. Senator Chair, if you allow me, after my presentation, which will be very reasonably short, and Mr. Kimodo's presentation, then I will quickly usher in my colleagues from Teacher Service Commission and Kenya National Examinations Council after me to make their remarks so that when we go to the interactive session, we have heard all that. Our presentations are in your bags. Some of them have just been given. So like when I come to the KICD presentation, I'll skip quite a bit because if we were to speak to everything, Senator Chair, if we were to answer all those questions orally, then we'll be here for a day or two. So I'll just highlight key issues, then the rest you'll find. In your document also you'll find the basic education curriculum framework, which you can look at later. It has a lot of information because, as Dr. Zegere would say, this is the first time we are having a curriculum framework which is a blueprint for all that we are going to do. So it should be in your bag. Emily, just make sure that all the senators have their bags, and their bags we also have the basic education curriculum framework. So moving straight to, yes. Moving straight to my presentation, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development is established by an Act of Parliament, the KICD Act number 4 of 2013. And our main mandate is to develop curricula and curriculum support materials. And this is done through, as captured there, research, and I will be emphasizing stakeholder engagement. Senator Chair, this is important because sometimes when we have debates or even comments by newspapers and others, they can heap on an institute quite a number of functions, some of which are not ours. I was attending a function in recently, and I had someone blaming KICD for increasing money for lunch. For the lunch when children have to eat at school, and I was stood up very quickly and said, what has KICD got to do with? Then they were saying, you know, you're the ones who have put up a curriculum that does not allow children to go home for lunch. So this is important. Our vision, mission, mandate, these are core issues in any organization, but because I'll not speak to this again, allow me to capture one point there. That sometimes you have heard people talk about the philosophy of education, the philosophy of the curriculum, and the lack of it sometimes. But when you read literature or books from all over, they will underscore one point, that a philosophy can be unwritten or written. It is basically a statement of vision around which organizational activities are organized. And Senator Dr. Milgo and others who are here, those of us who grew up during Moi's time, we had the Nyayo philosophy. I don't think somebody has really gone down to unpack it, but it kept us going. And we kept reciting peace, love, and unity. So if you come to our gate today at the Institute, our guiding philosophy for this country in terms of all we do is that we have a vision for a skilled and ethical society. And so we're not just having it for the sake of meeting the requirements of having a vision and other things. And so all that I will say will actually be revolving around is the curriculum taking us towards a skilled and an ethical society. And I think another important thing that needs to come out every time we talk about the curriculum is that we are thinking about nurturing every learner's potential. All the books we have read tell us that every person, including those who never have a chance to go to school at all, indeed have a potential that we just need to give a chance to be nurtured. And this, if you look at our curriculum and our experience, as Mr. Haga and Elmar Songe will say, even our learners in school who have been told that they have handicaps, you know, earlier on we were talking about mental handicap, to visual handicap, and so on. These have changed. They have demonstrated that they have a potential that can be nurtured. This is important for senators. Today we don't want to go into budgetary issues, but we have a council, and quickly what is important to capture here is that our council, by its construction to begin with, is representative. Sitting now as the chairperson-elect is Mr. Johnson Nzioka, who is also the chairman of the Kenya Primary School Head Teachers Association. The reason I'm saying that, Senators, is that we would not have a representation at that level, and then he still doesn't make sure that teachers are involved and are aware. Sitting with us is the Principal Secretary, Early Learning and Basic Education, represented here by Dr. Gaturu, who is substantially in charge of quality assurance. So she gets it from the source and is able to tell us challenges that are there. Sitting with us is the Teacher Service Commission. So the implications of teachers are already taken care of at council level. Sitting with us is the CEO, Kenya National Examinations Council, and therefore, even later on as I say something about the curriculum development process, even at level of council. Sitting with us, Senator Chair, are representatives of the universities, private and public. Sitting with us in that council are also other members nominated to represent special interests. So that was the most important thing to capture. I think the other thing I want to say in passing is that we have an establishment of 650 staff at the KICD. But there are, like many other organizations, we are operating just at about 300, less than half that. So sometimes senators may need to be aware that we have challenges of staffing, and that sometimes hampers us from doing all that we are supposed to do. I'll pick on just about 4 of our functions because these are important. Of course, one is that the government has constituted this organization to be able to advise on all matters pertaining to curriculum development. And the government gives us resources, close to 2 billion every year, other than what comes to us from the donors, and this is our task. And that information is out there, how we wish that we are always called upon to give that information. We are also supposed to evaluate, vet, and approve for application in Kenya any local and foreign curricula and curriculum support materials, and we are supposed to implement all policies related to curriculum. As Dr. Jengere preempted, I wanted to say something about this, that yes, we know that early childhood education development has been devolved, but it is still the responsibility of the mainstream government to develop curricula and to develop curriculum support materials. So we develop them, we approve them. So all books, all curriculum designs that are used right from pre-primary education are developed at KICD. But the most important thing related to what Dr. Jengere said is that the earlier curriculum did really not give us this responsibility expressly, because early childhood education was not expressly captured, not only in the structure, but even in the law. It's until we got the Basic Education Act of 2013 that now we have that structure. Otherwise, that was a problem. So we cover all these. Basically, the only level we don't cover responsibility for is the university education. And so sometimes you may have heard when they tell us they're not involved, it is because, and we are all from the university sector, it is because it is not our responsibility in terms of mandate to tell them what to do, but we offer a lot of support. Now, the only other function I wanted to emphasize is that which involves collaboration with other institutions. Yes, this one. Collaborate with other individuals and institutions in organizing and conducting professional development programs for teachers, teacher trainers, quality assurance, and standard. I think the key issue here is the word collaborate. And sometimes, therefore, when you hear people say that teachers are not aware or that other agencies are not concerned, as I will demonstrate shortly, the way we develop curricula involves all these agencies. So I want to quickly move. This is good news, senators. It's maybe important to know that as an institute, we are compliant legally to all those provisions that we have. We are conscious of the provisions of the law that govern us, and we stick to them. But again, a little celebration there, that we are also oversighted like any other government agency, and in the recently released Public Service Commission performance indicators, we were number 11 out of 227 state corporations. And thank you very much. And out of the 74 state corporations classified as service, we were number 2. So that means at least at the over, and these are not internal people, they are not Ministry of Education people who will tell us, we don't want to put a bad picture out there. What I want to talk about most, and I don't want to take too long, is this, because the rest of the information is in our slides. That academically, all over the world, academically and globally, there is a curriculum development cycle that has been adopted globally. Just like all other professions have agreed, if we think about the development of a vaccine, the people in the medical fraternity have agreed on the processes that it must pass before we can have a vaccine introduced. And this, I'm using that example because COVID-19 has taught us that. So that even some vaccines supposedly got their way to the country, but could not be used because the World Bank said, no, this one we haven't done. So all people in education all over the world, all people in curriculum development have adopted this. And for the sake of Sensitization, I promise you a book, the latest of the curriculum studies encyclopedia by Sage. But I'll give all of you copies. But I was mentioning Zani because she comes with one of us from the chalk and dust the other side. But even if you read that and any other curriculum development process, so it starts with the needs assessment. And I can assure you that in the year 2016, the Institute, working with all those other agencies with whom we collaborate, carried out an elaborate needs assessment for curriculum reforms in this country. I'll be demonstrating later, very, very shortly, that even prior to that, in the year 2009, the Institute did a summative evaluation of the 844 curriculum at all levels. And that in itself is a stakeholder engagement, because when you do research, you go out to people, they give you information, you collect it, you put it together, and you bring it out. And that is a document that is available at KICD. If Senate wills that we give them a copy, we can provide those copies. And the research assessment, Dr. Njogere said it all. What did Kenyan say? And for the sake of information, let me reveal that I was involved in it, still as a university staff, consulting for KICD. The Kenyans said, among many things, but one of the things they said, can we get a curriculum that nurtures the potential of every learner? And that was coming in because if you look at the curriculum we are running now, especially at the secondary school level, we have made 5 subjects compulsory. If you don't pass them, you can't have a chance of going to the university to do anything reasonable. You have mathematics, you have English, you have Kiswahili, and you have 2 sciences. If you don't get a C in any of those, you cannot go to university at all. But if you don't get an A, then there are courses you cannot do, or an A-. And that really is limiting because really, in some of those areas, like mine, I'm a teacher of English basically, and a teacher trainer. I mean, if I didn't do very well in mathematics, I'd still be able to teach English. So that's limited. So a curriculum that is flexible, that's one thing Kenyan said. Kenyan said, we want a curriculum that produces people who can do something. I normally simplify the word competence. It's just the ability to be able to do, the ability to be identified with a skill. And this is something that was even in our pre-formal education days. We go to the villages, we know, Dr. Bilgo, we know that huyo mama ni mkunga. Huyo mbaba, he can mend that grass thatch root of yours. Huyo jama anatibu watu. These were known. So basically people told us that we are having a curriculum today, and those of us at the university were challenged, that you give me a learner who has got a degree in something called International Standards of Concept Applications and Implementation. Then when you ask them, what can you do? And they tell you, no, I can do anything actually. I am an internationally trained person. Then thirdly, and then I'll stop there in terms of the needs assessment, Kenyans told us we want a curriculum that enables our people to have values. That we are producing a curriculum that from the beginning people are cheating in exams, and therefore you cannot talk to them about corruption. People cannot respect one another, and those values are enshrined in our constitution and other documents. Now normally from that stage, then you develop policy. You formulate policy at the national level, And already, thank God, we have goals of education. A critical document that we have, which we have enclosed with you, is the Basic Education Curriculum Framework, a multi-consultative, multi-agency, multi-sectoral document that, again, I have always dared some of our colleagues out there, how many of these countries in East and Central Africa, we are the only country that have a basic education curriculum framework of the kind of details that we have. Until, Chair, I went to Britain in 2006. That's when I came across an education framework for the 74263 that we did. So that even the curriculum we are running now, we are facing out 844, we don't have a curriculum framework to go back to. Hence, people say, what if it doesn't work well and we have to go back? As somebody says, if you were to go back and say, okay, give me the basic education curriculum framework that is underpins 844, which we go to, we don't have any document like that. So that is a document that we have, you have it, very consultative. Then the process of curriculum design. Now, a lot takes place in here, which allow me a minute to explain. That before you can come up, and Emily, where are you? Can one of my people just bring a copy of a curriculum design? The first thing to say is that in 844 and other curricula, we have been talking about syllabuses. A syllabus basically is just a document that tells you the list of topics and subtopics learners should learn, maybe the objectives for them, and the scope, the extent to which they should go. Now, in this curriculum, we have gone beyond a typical syllabus. We are developing curriculum designs. Now, the curriculum designs will give you a lot of information beyond the syllabus. One of the things that they'll give you is that now we are operating with expected learning outcomes. What, at the beginning, before you can say you are going to teach someone any topic, any subtopic, what do you want to be the outcome of this? And linking it to the competencies, what do you want the learner to be able to do? Now, in these designs, we shall find, unlike the syllabuses, you'll find suggested learning experiences. They are suggested. So, and these suggestions have been made in a way that we capture all over the country. If you are in Kawia village, where I come from, where there is no electricity, how can you engage in activities that will help you acquire knowledge of verbs? Now, a learner in Nairobi may want to check this on the computer, but the one in my village may just play around with things that they know that, look, when you play, how do you play? When you jump, because verbs will remain verbs in the content. But these ones, senators, will also give you a link to other learning areas. So if you are doing mathematics, somebody else is doing environmental activities, somebody else is doing religion, how does this topic that we're learning today link to something else? So if I'm teaching maths and I'm teaching division, I'm able to link it to values also. And say that now, if you have 2 oranges and you are 9 of you in your house, it is important to share. Why are we sharing those few oranges? And if somebody else does not have, do you have something for them? So we link that. This will also give us information on how we can link what the children are learning to the community. Because education is not just that which you take away from the class. Now, the first set that we produced were very big because they were in volume. So you will find, for example, you have English, Kiswahili, indigenous language in one volume. But these ones are smaller. Oh, yes, she has the earlier copies there. These ones are smaller. And why? Because of COVID-19, we are now saying every learning area should just have its own design, its own booklet. Because of COVID-19, teachers are saying we are not going to be 4 of us sharing one design. So senators will be pleased to know that we're already responding to the dictates of COVID. Now, having explained the issue of design and syllabus, another point that is important to explain, senators, is that the curriculum development cycle begins by putting a panel together. This panel is made up of practitioners, teachers in the field. This is also made up of representation. For example, if you are talking about early childhood, then we are not just talking about teachers, but also teacher educators, people who teach these people. We bring in university scholars so that they tell us what are the present trends. We bring in Teacher Service Commission. We bring in Kenya National Examinations Council. We bring in the Ministry of Education. At the level of conceptualization of what is it a child should learn, for example, in religious activities at the early childhood level. And if it is something like religious activities, then we shall bring people who are experts in that place together. KICD just facilitates. So, Madam Chair, what needs to go out there properly is that we don't sit at a corner, put some 5 people together who will, as we have been accused, maybe download a curriculum from elsewhere and heap it on others. That can never take place. Now, once that subject, of about 20 people, every subject has conceptualized at the level of a draft what this should be, then it is taken to a course panel. This course panel is a big team of over 20 people who, beyond the agencies I have mentioned, will include people from the industry, people from the faith-based organizations, will include, if it is religion, for example, people of that particular religion, will include parents. So at that level, we have a bigger stake of stakeholder engagement. And Dr. Gaturu is here, she chairs. So a quality assurance director is the one who chairs that course panel. That means KICD, if we were to sneak in, is something weird, you'll be told at that point. Beyond that, Madam Chair, Daktari, we also have an academic committee. This academic committee is grounded in our law. It is in our act that there shall be an academic committee of 23 people. The academic committee is chaired by the Director General. Again, in that academic committee, there is representation of people from all sectors of the society, including KEPSHA, KESHA, the 2 teacher unions are represented, and this is not new. So even all this time CBC has been conceptualized, the academic committee was in place, these people were represented, their minutes are there. You may be amused to see some people opposing CBC now who signed minutes that were part of the conceptualization. And then of course it goes to council. Sorry, I took a long time there. So there's an approval system that involves all those stages that you cannot circumvent in developing this curriculum. Let me quickly move to curriculum support materials. My brother John will tell us about books later, but the development of course books, as we are aware, has been opened up. So KICD now is just only a publisher of a last resort, because now we only vet when we want to develop books. Like now, the next lot we are going to be doing is grade 7. We'll put up an advertisement on and circulate that information everywhere. Now we shall have, of course, prescriptions on the standards we require. We shall give them curriculum designs. Publishers will submit textbooks that will be evaluated. This evaluation, Madam Chair, is done by teachers. So I think next time, John, we make sure we involve Senate. And if you go to a big institution like the Kabarak University, you will find at any one time when we are evaluating books, you have about 600 teachers there. In every sub, it's a conveyor belt. For every learning area, let us say social studies grade 7, initially a group of 5 will read this manuscript, a manuscript that has no name of the author, has no name of the publisher. They have no idea who has written it. These are people who have been randomly selected, but selected in such a way that if we suspect any conflict of interest, you are excluded. These 5 people will read the books individually first, give it a mark against a criterion, pass it on to another 5, who will also not know what has been awarded by that group. In short, by the time the book comes to us at KICD, these teachers, Minister of Education, Examinations Council, Teacher Service Commission, and I will also want to add, government agencies, you know them. Yeah, these ones you don't know. We'll also be in them. Some of them I didn't know earlier on before I came to KICD are teachers. They'll also be there. By the time they bring us a book at KICD and tell us that the book, the manuscript that has met the threshold is this, even me as a director, I cannot change that mark. Even when it's a book I have written, and I write books, I would also be really hoping that one day my book can be can be accepted. Of course, I can't do that now because it will be conflict of interest. But even if I had to, I have no influence over that exercise. But like you said, Madam Chair, when we lose, sometimes Kenyans are not very good losers. Something important about that is that ultimately, Dr. Gaturu, through the Minister of Education, or the Minister of Education through Dr. Gaturu, have generously said, let us buy books for our learners. So of course, as we know, every learner in public schools now has a book in every learning area. That brings on board the procurement process. And procurement process basically means, as the book met the threshold, yes, who is the lowest bidder? That is done openly, just like, and it's an open tender, openly in front of everybody. You bring your financial bid, you bring your technical bid, and the number one book emerges. Now this is where my colleagues at the university say, how can my book, I'm a whole professor, how can my book fail to meet the threshold? I will amuse you, sometimes they say that when the book has been given 30%. The kind of books sometimes they submit are terrible, because this curriculum design has strands and sub-strands. If you give us a book that has omitted, let us say, a third of the strands, the topics and the subtopics, of course it will score very little. But at that time when they go to the media, they don't say that, look, have you compared your book with many others which were there? So they will call us all sorts of names and call us all sorts of corruptions without knowing the process, because they can't influence it. Of course then, a teacher preparation has to go on at the point of curriculum development. I'm still on curriculum, but allow me, senators, to mention this. I'm a teacher educator, basically. That's how I put food on my table. And I started my journey into teacher education from very long. I initially trained as a diploma teacher from Silver Teachers College, 88, 90. Then I taught for many years before I came back to the university as a mature student. So actually, one of your colleagues in Senate, I was hoping to see him here, Dr. Andrew Langat, was my student of PhD at Moi University. I think he has a few good statements about me. But the point here is, as a teacher, and Madam Chair, I'm happy you mentioned your principle. When we are in college, we are trained on all methodologies, including the learner-centered and the teacher-centered. So every teacher in this country knows about demonstration, knows about experimentation, knows about role play, knows about question and answer method. The point is that somewhere we got to go much more on the learner, on the teacher-centered pedagogies, because we had a mean score to prove. If we could drill our learners and they pass exams, then we are scored. And Dr. Nyagere will be talking about how now that has changed. So even as we talk about the teacher preparation, Dr. Nyagere will talk about it, is not that we are creating some new teacher from anywhere. Because even this CBC, the content is the same. Largely, it's just that we have reorganized it in a way that now is consistent with what's happening in the rest of the world. Yes, Madam Chair, the curriculum was piloted. From my reading as an educator, the longest pilot of a curriculum I have seen is this CBC. Because we did a pilot in 2017, we did a pilot in 2018. I have documents that show that there's a first phase pilot and there is a second phase pilot, and for each one of them there was a baseline, there was a midline, there was a summative. And when we released the summative pilot results, we did not say we are operating at 100%. I remember very clearly we said that the uptake at that initial stage of October 2018 was at 56%. What gave us comfort was that the IEB, International Bureau of Education, has certified that if at pilot stage the uptake of our curriculum is at 50%, then that curriculum may be rolled out. KICD, I'm very sure at that time, was very conscious that if we didn't achieve that, we would say, let us go on with the pilot. So this was done. And then a national implementation plan was rolled out. And this one, we were all watching the news. At some point, there was some debate on whether or not Ms. Amina Mohammed, ambassador, who was the Minister for Education then, at some point said, let us postpone the launch. She came back on a press release, which is still existing, and said, no, we have consulted, we have checked on the other things, let us now go on. I want to finish that bit by saying, as part of a curriculum development, we are conscious that a curriculum is not cast on stone. as you implement, things emerge. And as things emerge, how will you know they are emerging? Through a continuous monitoring and evaluation. And we do that every year. As I talk to you now, we have just concluded a monitoring and evaluation of grade 4. We are going, and that is even during COVID. We are going on with the monitoring and evaluation of grade 5, and that is intended to tell us what are those areas which we need to clarify. So I thought I would take time on that, a bit of time on that, because the rest of them we have in the documents, we shall be able to see them. Allow me, this is something that has been talked over and over again, that when you are reforming a curriculum, you think about the global scene, you think about the regional scene, and the local one. And globally, my point to senators is that I can look at you in the eyes and tell you as an academic that the whole world has gone competency-based curricula. They would be called different names, but the whole world is emphasizing on a curricula that leads us towards certain skills. And I've always challenged this. Last week I had an opportunity to talk to my colleagues at the university, and I challenged them that we are readers. Tell us that country in the world today that is still just giving children knowledge for knowledge's sake, which is what is basically called the knowledge-based curricula. There's none. In terms of East African community, and I wish Dr. Nyagere will preserve a minute of his time to talk about this, the East African countries have signed a protocol, have signed a treaty. Kenya is a signatory, and there is chapter 12 of that treaty, and also a separate East African community document on harmonization of curricula, which has gone competency, has lined up the structure, and something Dr. Nyagere should have said is that, senators, we are one of the very few countries in the world that is keeping children in primary school up to 8 years. I'm emphasizing that very few because I don't know of any other. But as an academic, I'm only leaving a chance in case there's another. Otherwise, elsewhere I would have said we are the only country in the world that is keeping children in primary school up to 8 years. And even McKay, that David talked about, Dr. Jegere, in his statement in their report had actually said that we shouldn't keep children in primary school for more than 6 years. So even as they were proposing a longer primary, they were very clear that the last 2 years now should be a skills-based training for those children. And so that is, so all the East African community, no country is keeping children like that. And we know that this was meant to promote mobility across board. Locally, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 has huge implications that the 844 is, as currently constituted, is not serving the rights of children, the rights of children to education, and the Basic Education Act. But it's also important to say, I hope I have it in my slide somewhere, I'll come to the basic goals of education. Yes, so there was a summative, I've talked about this, a summative evaluation, Constitution of Kenya, Dr. Nyagere has talked about this, I don't have to repeat them. Yes, senators, if we look at this keenly, our national goals of education, and we reflect on the curriculum we are offering, then we need to ask critical questions about whether we are fostering nationalism, patriotism, and so on. And on that one, for example, we have a competency on citizenship that is intending to give us that basic reminder that we have Kenyans and we have a role. We are talking about socioeconomic, technological, and industrial needs of a country. How do we get there when we are still teaching our children and producing people who have a lot of knowledge about how that can be done, but they themselves cannot do? And we live with these people around our places. How many of us can, at a click of a button, without thinking, we'll get a plumber around here? Just somebody to fix your taps around. Will take you a long time. We are talking about individual development and self-fulfillment. You have a competence there called self-efficacy. That learners, if you go to some countries now, learners who can even look at you in the eye. You know, some of these things like even child molestation and sexual harassment and even assault. If you have a child who look at you in the face and tell you, my friend, I call you uncle, you cannot start touching me indecently. Self-efficacy. As Dr. Namburi would tell you, if you have a learner who can meet your teacher smoking at some corner in the school and tell you, Mwalimu, this school is a no smoking zone. Our children are only doing it. The CBC children today, if you have them in your vehicle, you can't throw a bottle out of the window. They'll tell you, no, daddy, stop the car, pick that bottle, because we are talking about that. So anyway, I cannot go on and on. I'm about to finish. Those of us who have Google, anytime you Google 21st century skills, this will appear. And these are the issues we have in the competencies. And then we talk about life and career skills. All these will appear. And these are the things that we are talking about. We are not talking about this curriculum from nowhere. 21st century skills that will appear. So, as I close, what basically is this animal called a competency-based curriculum? We are talking about a curriculum that defines learning from the point of view of the learner. What outcomes does this learner need? How do we get the learner there? We are not focusing on knowledge for knowledge's sake. I'll give you an example, Senator Wilgo. I'm a teacher of English. What does it help me to go and tell learners the different theories of listening? My task is to get that learner who can listen to you and recall, interpret, infer what you said. A learner who can greet you competently and engage you in a conversation. And I'm sure you've seen that. Many people, our youth today, you meet them and they step on your feet and they can't say, I'm sorry. In fact, it's you who will be apologizing and say, sorry, I put my feet carelessly, and you stepped on them. As Dr. Nyegere will say, a learner who is not being measured. Senators, you remember sometimes when you went to school and you are doing that exam, you put your face like this. Mwenzako asione, wewe umeandika nini? Now we are saying you didn't send your child to school to compete others. You sent your child to school to be able to demonstrate that they are acquiring competence in an area, and therefore they are competing against a standard and not. We are talking about meaningful connections with the society. We are talking about a knowledge, a competence-based curriculum. So, one question, and that's my last slide, one question that we have not been answering as Kenyans is, even as we talk about 844, the three of you sitting there, senators, are daktaris. What do we call, what is the name of that curriculum that we are offering within that house or that structure called 844? What is our focus? That is a question Kenyans are not answering. That's why for the first time in this country we are saying we must have a word around which our curriculum rallies us, and that is competency. One way you might talk about the curriculum we are running now is that we may call it a knowledge-based curriculum. You know, but you cannot do. And the important point to emphasize as I close that is that when you reform a curriculum, it's not that we are suddenly vilifying all 844. We have children. We have officers in this country who are products of the system. We are just saying the time to change is now, and we know better. Yes, so that is a summary you have on your slides. You can look at later. What are the key issues we are moving from? What are the key issues we are going to? And I think I'll stop there. The rest of them, senators, we shall get from our presentation, so that we don't take too long. I hope I answered some of these your questions. I want to, if you allow, Chair, invite my colleague, Mr. Kimodo. There are issues you raised about books, especially in terms of laptops. You raised issues about how are we offering learning during COVID-19, for example, distance learning. Once we have a long closure of schools, Mr. Kimodo will be able to he'll talk a lot shorter than I did. I think it'll just take about 5 minutes. And then if you allow, we can have Dr. Damburi following, and then Dr. Njagere, because these things are so interrelated, so that when we talk, we can now discuss together. Mr. Kimodo.
Thank you, Professor. Maybe first of all, maybe some of my colleagues will have some reaction to what you said.
Okay.
Before we bring Kimodo on board.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Professor. Very eloquent, and some of the areas and questions being answered. We just want to begin to be able to troubleshoot, and I think it's good to troubleshoot now, because then somebody else, as you make the presentations, can also come in with something. And I just want to start with the presentation on page 2, and this is where we have the rationale of CBC, and we understand that rationale. In fact, let me tie that page, or that what you're saying, with the last one that you're saying, and this is the CBC so to speak versus the KBC, the knowledge base. Yeah? And we're starting a foundation of CBC against a tradition of knowledge-based. If you look at what the industry is offering, and when somebody wants to be employed, what they'll be trying to do is they will actually go to KBC instead of CBC. And therefore, I'm interested in understanding how, at this point, you're already linking industry into appreciating some of the values that are very clear to us from CBC, so that those who have entrenched those values, because I think somewhere along the line, what we will be looking at, maybe we're not saying it loudly, or maybe practically it can't happen, maybe policy doesn't spell it out, will be a little bit of both. A little bit of both. And I think also a lot of the transformation will depend on how other countries are also metamorphosizing in terms of moving to competency-based. Some countries have done that very well, and you can see these values being infused. Some of these values are also linked with the traditional uncle. For example, you threw out a piece of paper. The uncle can slap that child and say, culturally, see the contradiction with culture. Culturally, how do we deal with the issues of how we view the adults? How do we deal with some of the issues that, when we look at the core values, are important and well-based, but again, we have that traditionalism issue. How can we better infuse? Because I know America, they made a difference because suddenly patriotism was important. And I remember in our time, we sang the national anthem, we sang the loyalty pledge, and I think this issue keeps coming up over and over again. And many of us, maybe when we recited it, we didn't even know what we were saying. But now we want to, when you see the flag of Kenya, you stand up and you value all this. So I'm hoping this also is getting infused. But I raised this even when we were in Ashipai. And now when it comes to assessment, I know that we don't have any grading in CBC. It is a generalized assessment that is made, more or less. But do you think that practically we are still ending up with some sort of ranking, even if it is quietly done? Is there some sort of ranking that might still be coming across from the teachers I know who have been trained, but our traditionalism takes us there. And I'll tell you why I'm asking that question. Because when you look at even the performance, and this is not under CBC in our other one, and we said we're not going to be ranking, we didn't rank. But the newspapers would still report, and they would give us the ranking, whichever way. So sometimes when we change our value systems, we don't infuse and transform as quickly. It is a process. Then the second point, or maybe third, I'm not sure which, because I'm mixing them all up, is where we're referring to Professor Odhiambo's task force report, and we're saying major curriculum reform to align it to the Vision 2010, Vision 2030. And now, coming to the questions that have come from both Senate and also from the public, asking about CBC and its usefulness generally. I think it would be very good if we begin to be able to give these figures in terms of transformation. Versus 2020, we're expecting these many industrialists, we're expecting these many, for example, ophthalmologists. We expect, this sort of linking and showing the values, so that when people are saying and thinking about where we're going with CBC, they can actually be figures. Maybe for some of the countries who have moved or started earlier, so that we say, for example, countries so and so and so were able to live in terms of their economic progression by this much because of CBC. So, this sort of thing, I think, helps us in a country like ours that is still industrializing, and that issues of numbers and everything becomes very, very important. And of course, the integration of value-based learning are very, very key, and we need to be able to put that into place. But how are we able to do this also versus our traditionalist system? When I look at the value-based learning and what it entails, are we able to still deliver within a class size, for example, of 40, within maybe many of the other challenges when Chair was making her remarks within the area of materials and how do we cope with that? Because from the KICD perspective, and maybe these are questions not necessarily to be answered by KICD, but of course they've come through this presentation, so I'm raising them now. But they infuse, because some of these ideas then directly infuse into the content that is going to be put into place, and I think that is very important. Then the monitoring and evaluation report, Professor, as I hear you speak, I wish this is something the whole Senate would hear. And maybe Chair and committee can discern, and it would be good to put together some of these senators who have asked these questions. Maybe even, if we thought about it earlier, maybe even invited them here. It's good when they listen to this, because I remember after the meeting we had at Enashipai, we had a chance to meet the Senate, the Committee of the Whole, all of us. And you remember we had a very good discussion, and after that all these questions sort of died down. So I think that is something I would be interested in, probably the committee would too, the monitoring and evaluation report that would really just delve into some of these implementation issues into detail and help us know where we are and how we are doing. And then last, I think, is just the whole issue of industry, linking up with industry, the work that has been done by CICAN, the Canadian institutes and Canadian universities, and some of the work that they've done in just coming back and linking with industry. And this theme goes right from CBC right up to TVET. It goes up through from our basic education right up to the university education. Because if we look at it in terms of the lives, in terms of employment, self-employment, self-actualization, being able to reach where we were meant to be, how is the groundwork and how is the root are going to be strengthened so that is easy, and that the industry, the shift to industry can be smooth as we balance both CBC and KCBC, which we don't talk about, we talk about quietly, but inherently we're making a transition, and a little bit of this also simmers into what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Senator Msirube.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, and I would like to actually thank KICD. I would like to thank Professor for coming up with this presentation. And, thank you, Chair. And I would like to thank you for your presentation, which has been very good. And I have some comments to make. First of all, I would like to put it very clearly that by profession I'm a teacher. I started as a diploma, teacher. Then from there, I went to do special education at Kenyan University. I even got a first-class honors. Wow. In linguistics. I'm a linguist in linguistics and special education, and I've also had a chance to interact with the learners in the classroom. So I'm coming from an informed perspective, and I would like to thank KICD so very much. When I look at this basic education curriculum, and this is something I remember, and Dr. Haga, I think I'm happy you are here. We've met in quite a number of forums, and with Professor Ndurumo as well. And there's something that has come out strongly from this book that I want to commend you for, because you have taken in an issue that we've been fighting over and again, especially needs education, with the likes of Professor Ndurumo and others also in the area of sign language. There is a phrasing here that you said on page 50 about Kenyan Sign Language, that you've explained what it is. It's a means of communication by persons who are deaf, and you come out clearly to say signed exact English, on the other hand, is used in teaching English concepts and is the language of instruction in schools, colleges, and universities for learners who are deaf. That is very strong. And then like that, because there has been a lot of controversy in the area, and the director, if you can just flash back in your archives, you'll find that there's My Sign and Finger Spelling series. The first one to be approved is the Orange Book. I think it was 2000 and what? I don't remember. Those are books I authored when I was doing my master's at KU. When I just stepped out of the classroom, I saw the lacuna and what needed to be done. So when I took to KICD, they were very happy. They had never seen such books. So they were approved for primary level, middle level, and somewhere, I think there were 3 series, learners and teachers copies, because being a teacher, I knew about pedagogical issues and the lacuna there was, and so I felt it was my duty to fill the lacuna. Then, if you check in your archives, when Dr. Juan was also there, and I was in the Senate, I actually brought before the Senate committee that there's a big lacuna in the area of special needs, and Professor Kamara, I remember, told me, yes, we need to do something, and encouraged me. And last with Dr. John, last with KICD, and when I was in Senate, I was also, with that encouragement of Dr. John and Professor Kamara and the Senate committee, I was able also to publish some books, to author some books. That is Kenyan Sign Language, both for teachers, learners, and also I think there was an anthology. And in Senate Mashinani also, we did actually, give out the books, and we went sensitizing, and we went to see, during Mashinani times, we were going to see the issues, the gaps that were there in special needs. So I want to say what I'm putting across a director is that embracing and working with the Senate education team is very important, because the gaps that are there can easily be filled, because the legislative arm of the government needs to work with other bodies to ensure smooth running and supporting the system there is in place. As we are speaking right now, there are 3 bills in the Senate. One has been sponsored by Professor Kamara and myself on Kenyan Sign Language, and it brings in this issue of Kenyan Sign Language and distinguishes also the Kenyan Sign Language from Signed English. There is also another bill on special needs education, which Professor Kamar and I have also sponsored. There's also another bill which Dr. Milgo chair on sign language interpretation and myself are also sponsoring. And why am I bringing this? It's because I'm just saying that a good relationship with the stakeholders and ourselves will be able to help us come up with bills, that will later translate into laws, so that the gaps you are seeing or what you need to be made into law, we can always, talk and see how we can improve this sector. So that is actually my take. And Chair, I also agree that KICD is doing a very good job when it comes to evaluating, because the books that went to them, they actually evaluated and went through the rigorous process until they were approved. Now, I have an issue which I don't know how to stop, I don't know how to keep quiet on issues of special needs, yeah? So I always say them. There are books also in Kiswahili that I did author. They went to KICD. When they went to KICD, they stuck there. I wrote many letters to remind for them to be approved so that they can eventually be published and disseminated. KICD stopped. They never responded. They said, you see, we said that Kiswahili should not be offered. Kiswahili is not being taught to deaf learners. You see? So they stuck there. And it was a Kiswahili version of the Kenyan Sign Language book that is there that I authored. Now, in our presentation, it was very clear that the course subjects that would help one go to the university, Kiswahili is one of them, yeah? And also Kiswahili is a lingua franca. We cannot wish it away and say that the deaf cannot learn. It is very wrong, because some of these deaf learners, they are actually coming to school with the knowledge of Kiswahili from their background. They already know. So if we don't help them nurture, and if we don't nurture that Kiswahili in them, we're actually doing a disservice, because at the end of the day, they'll go to the world of work, where they'll find Kiswahili speakers majority. Yeah. So where will they be? So that is something KICD really needs to think through again on the issue of Kiswahili, because already if you investigate and stamp your authority, the books will be brought to your office. The ones that were supposed to be reviewed by KICD and were not reviewed. So in brief, I'm saying that we are your partners. We want to work with you. The expertise, most of us are teachers, the expertise we have, let us give it back to the society. And I can tell you that during the Sign Language Day this month, the books that I published, I took them to Kenyan National Library so that they can be disseminated to Kenyans to read if they cannot be useful in the classroom. So they're all in Kenyan National Library. I took about 300 of them, and I think I'll take some more to them. So if these books can be approved and they cannot be purchased, you know, I'm not looking at it from a monetary point of view. I'm looking at it from the knowledge I have and giving back to the society. Knowledge is power, only if you share. I have to share the knowledge I have. So if these books are, you know, approved, then they don't have to be taken to school, because I'm not looking at the monetary issue. I will actually take them to Kenya National Library. I'll publish them, then take them to Kenya National Library so that they are read by other Kenyans. Now, Director, I look at page 30. Page 30 on the basic education structural model. That was on your presentation. The framework, Organization of Basic Education, or the framework. It is on the presentation that you made. We are there. So I'm just thinking to myself, when we look at the mainstream, the structure is very clear. That is from early years of education, they go, that is, we are there. Early years of education, that is 2 years primary, then we have 3 years lower primary, and then it goes to middle school, senior school, university, and the world of work. It is very clear the way they transition. Now, when you look at special needs education, I'm a bit worried about the transitioning, because the foundational level that is equated to pre-primary and lower primary. Then we have the intermediate level that is equated to probably upper primary. And then we have pre-vocational level that is equated to junior secondary. Then we have the vocational level. And then from vocational level, there's a transition to the world of work. So I'm just asking myself, does it mean that special needs education do not transition to universities? You know, probably that is something that needs to be clarified. Because when it comes to special needs, we have categories of special needs. We have some who are, visually impaired. We have some who can transition. They have the ability to transition up to universities. We have some who are physically impaired. The physically impaired, okay, may be bullied by those around them, but they can still, they have their brains, they can still transition to universities, yeah? Then we also have the hard of hearing. The hard of hearing, with the use of the amplifiers, the hearing aids, it is possible for them to get communication and even transition to universities. Then we have those who are deaf, but are also intelligent, because when you are deaf, it does not mean that academically you cannot make it. So we also have those ones who have the ability also transitioning to university. So I'm just wondering, on this structure, where do we put these categories of learners? Because I also see, a lacuna there. And then, Director KICD, lastly, when we went to Senate Mashinani, I'm not sure whether you are chair or it was during Professor Kamar, yes. When we went to Senate Mashinani, we found on the ground that even in as much as we're talking about competency-based curriculum, when it comes to the deaf, actually there's a big gap. And we were in the classroom, and we saw with the Senate team that those children do not have what is required, even the materials that are required. Like, I remember that some of them we observed they had their laptops, but when you looked at their laptops, they had nothing to offer those children. And sometimes they would even take long to really open the gadgets. And when it came to the content, you are linguists like myself, the content was wanting. The content did not corroborate with what is expected in terms of learning. And even as we talk about the competency base and no one being left behind, I'm just wondering, as we develop materials for these children, have you been able to develop from the lower grades for the deaf? Have you been able to develop even, is it grade 1, grade 2, and all that? Because I remember in a meeting we were with Dr. Haga at one point, I raised an issue that when it came to difficulty of the material, the content was far beyond what class 1 could actually decipher. So I don't know whether that issue was rectified. And my humble request is that even as you really go on to work to ensure no one is left behind, if you can just practically do it as a passion and take the initiative of now looking at this area to see how can this area be helped, that can be very good. Because I know for visually impaired, and Dr. Haga can bear me witness, at least we have the, they can use the computer to get the information, even though they are blind, but they can get the information. So what about the deaf? And also even bringing us on board. For me, I don't mind being brought on board just to see, is this information, what's going to the learners? Because I have knowledge I've taught all the years of my life. I have not had any career. From teaching after Form 6, I was a UT. From there, I taught in secondary school. From there, university for 14 years plus. So I don't know any other area. So just giving services, giving back to the society. Just call me, I'm a phone call away. I think I have a passion for that. And to really give back, I would really appreciate. And then lastly, as we continue, probably I need to make it clear. When we are talking about issues, learners with disabilities, kindly let us refrain from using derogatory terms like handicapped, kindly, or wheelchair bound and all that. Thank you. The presentation was great.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator Dr. Musreve is so passionate about that area, and sure indeed, I think I was in Senator Mashinani Eldoret, that we found that one is very wanted. Of course, so I think you already invited John Kimodo to take up the questions, several questions. I think at the course of my remarks, I gave a number. You can see the one of the curriculum itself is coming up again, which is people are feeling is too high for the level of the learners. So maybe you can back up and then we'll have a comment for both of you at the end. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just stood up to collect my paraphernalia, but as I invite Mr. Kimodo, I'm overwhelmed by your passion, the senators who have talked for this, and it's so fulfilling to engage with officers at that level who can articulate those issues. I want to just assure that we are recording these issues because it's a stakeholder engagement for us. Some of them we shall digest quietly as we go back. But allow me just to say, Senator, just two things. Senator Zani quite clear, the knowledge-based and the competence-based, there will be a lot of overlaps. And sometimes actually we have been accused that, are we now going to deny children knowledge? No. They will have to have that knowledge before they can do. And some of this will take us a little time, getting back to the values and just making sure that that link between the industry and the value shapes the industry is there. Then to Senator Musiruve, I can assure you that special needs education is at the core of my passion also, because of also some personal reasons. At some point, I got to be a head teacher of a school that was supposed to be a school for learners with special needs. There was a school called Augustana Academy, I'm sure you remember it. And when, for the 3 years I was there, what was humbling is that these are just learners who are not given an opportunity, who are not listened to, who are not appreciated. And once they had that, they ran. So there's a man here called Elmad Songe. Songe, I didn't just bring you here to take tea and go back. At some point, I'm sure you noted, at some point you'll need to address the questions. But I think I can assure you now that as far as we are concerned, we have developed books from pre-primary. We are at grade 5 now, which are going to schools next week, before we are in the new week. And we have even gone ahead now. We have developed handbooks for teachers. And I think we had some recent, Madam Olik is here, we had some recent funding for gadgetry or materials to support learners with special needs, including Braille and even books. Mr. Kimotho, my job, which Senate has given me, is to direct. Can I direct that those books are on my table on Tuesday? Those books Dr. is talking about that have stuck. The Kiswahili one, yes, I have also been quarreling this team, including my brother Haga. Why can't we teach these children also Kiswahili? And I think next time we have a stakeholder engagement, once we have that momentum, because that's how KICD works. The stakeholders give us that momentum. And if we can have a stakeholder as powerful as Senate, even directors to include that, then you can be sure this will be taken up. Thank you very much, Mr. Kimotho. Asante.
Kimotho, next up, I hope that the one of this will come out. This was very clearly. More specifically, you remember we told you to ask questions on book supply. And the fact that there are still the earlier suppliers, once the government, the ministry started supplying books, that there was a cup left. So I hope you get something so that, you know, those are questions we are getting into their service.
Thank you, Chair of the Senate Standing Committee on Education, Senator Dr. Alice, and Senator Dr. Agnes, and also Senator Dr. Musiluve, and the directors, the council, and my colleagues. It's a good morning for me to also be able to interact here. Also very rare for me to be invited by my boss to continue, but I will continue from where he stopped. Actually also very important that today we are here with Senator Dr. Musiluve. I think you talked to me so much in Boma at Eldoret about SNE and digital content that today I'm here to tell you that we have taken steps on it. So to continue with this, I'll be talking to us here about a number of items, and my presentation is mainly pictorial. So I'm also inviting ourselves to also enjoy so that we can also see, and this also speaks to us because it is true. So we'll be talking about textbooks, as you can see them there. We'll also be talking about the interface between CBC and what we call DLP, and how they interrelate, and of course the serious part of about the core competency called digital literacy. We'll also be talking to us about the Educational Resource Center, our interest in simulating and experimenting every part and concept of curriculum that we put through. So that is what I will do in the 5 minutes given. I will try to make it so. But if I don't, then you just walk with me. Everything we do in KICD and in the ministry, and a number of items that I'm going to talk about here, I'm actually talking because of the work done by the Educational Media Directorate in KICD, the work done together with us, the Quality Assurance Directorate, the Primary Directorate, and even the SNE Directorate. And therefore, I'm a voice of all the directors who are present here. All the work that we do is local, nothing imported. The first facility that I want to talk about is the print facility. Every book that goes to school, we check, including the physical quality of that book, to ensure that the life of it is good enough, that there is value for money. We have libraries where we also have the materials that we do in terms of helping ourselves to develop that curriculum. These libraries are open to all of us. The libraries are good enough. They win the Maktaba Award every year. And as you walked in, you saw a number of awards there, and becoming number 2 in the service area. Also, the communication and print and digital media, we are also marked as the best in Africa. The educational resources here, the prototype that we are seeing here, are what we also do ourselves, and we do them in various regions to see to it that the teaching aids that are recommended, part of the suggested learning experiences, are actually tried by ourselves. We do this in various regions. One time we could be in Meru, another time in Kisumu. That way then we are able to try and see to it what we are saying about locally available materials is true. The other facility is the radio and TV facility. Teaching through radio started way back in 1964. It was housed in KIE in 1967 because of realizing that it is not actually the machines in Voice of Kenya or KBC today that matter. It is the content that is going through that must be resonating with the curriculum. The television we started in 2010, actually a presidential project launched on 30th March 2010, yes, 2010. We did a survey recently, and these are the kind of, These are the kind of survey results that we got. When we checked on the radio, teachers, students, and pupils, we were doing 43.3%. This we covered the entire country, and these are the aspects we are saying. When we do it next time, we could seek to also include you, and you walk with us and you see what we see. Noting this, that we had a coverage of 98% of the country, and doing this in terms of learners and teachers is good. But even better still, when we looked at the Edu TV, which does educational content 24/7, we were doing 69%. We get comments like there are no TVs, but then when we seek and we move around the country, even in very difficult places, you ask them, do you have a TV at home? And you see have lifting their hands. What does it use? Solar. Do you watch Edu TV? These are the figures we were getting, 69%. Indeed, because of the work that we did during COVID, you can see the Communications Authority, not Ministry of Education, giving us the Gold Award of Mzalendo Mkuu, being the most patriotic, and also getting the award of the EduTech Leader of the Year. This is from the technology industry, and also getting the Gold Award of being there for children and at the right time. So even when other media houses we are saying they have got good awards, they were getting one. But you can see what we were getting in the Ministry of Education. And senators, this is also your contribution because of your support. The fact that we were able to stay in KICD together with the teachers, make programs, put them in the newspaper, put the timetable in the internet, and advertise it, including using WhatsApp,
made the learners continue learning. This process continues even today. We are also doing e-learning in terms of digital content, and we have places where we are able to develop them. We have the facilities that you can see here. They are available in KICD. And also, I want to mention about Kenya Education Crowd, where we are going to get soon, and you are going to see the kind of content that we have there, including content for SNE that I was inspired a few years ago to think about, as difficult as it may be, but today we are saying we are winners because we have it. We have even outside broadcasting vans that we are able to move around and be able to collect information that is educational and be able to prepare it for the learners. Let's now get into the classroom and see what we have. This is the kind of classroom that we have, where we are indicating that even when we have the devices and we also have the books, the teachers are important and critical. And there's something we are doing together with the TSC and others to ensure that the teachers remain appraised and in place in terms of integrating this. When we did the CBC and we say digital literacy to be included, we covered 3 domains. Interacting with the technology that is operating it, being able to create using that technology, and being able to share. So elements like the ones the learner are told take a picture, our expectation is that these devices would be used to take those pictures even in classroom. And then the difficult part where the parents are saying we don't have. Truly the government has provided a number that can be used. Even if they are not there for every learner, the few that are there in the school, the head teacher has the mandate to be able to manage and have this possible. We will see other devices that are there and are available, but this is the kind of classroom that we see. We do all agree that the devices are not in all schools. We have about 1,119 schools without the devices. They are known between the Ministry of Education and ICT authority that provides the devices, and efforts are in place to have that done. Indeed, last year when we were doing the specifications for the next level of devices, SNE became very prominent, and we ensured that people like Songe and Haga were with us as we drew the devices so that we can have the right specifications. This is the expectation of the curriculum, that devices like these ones that can be used even in the field are there and they are used. This particular picture that I want to draw our attention to shows us that the learners here are doing learner-centered learning, and this is digital literacy, and others who are doing collaborative learning here, and even where the instructor is also checking and seeing what there is. This is the kind of thinking that we had. And then they share these pictures, then they are sharing using technology. This infusion is there in every learning area, because we are not expecting to have people who are fully computer in every way, but we are expecting to have an output, the engaged ethical citizen who is able to do biology using digital world, who are able to do an nutrition using digital world, and hence the infusion of that. This is the kind of statistics of the number of schools that have the devices, and this can be checked online, including when you want to know which school has which device, how many devices. The ICT authority has made it possible, and will be providing you with those URL addresses so that even when you're interacting with other people, we can be able to tell them which is your school, can we check it out? And then we can be able to see. The learner devices are what we are seeing here, that the learners have the devices and have the books as well. The teacher devices are actually laptops. SNE devices are also laptops. And then we have this server that our Honorable CS was saying can be used to store all the content, and learners don't even have to go looking for it, and a projector that can be used to do the projection. So these devices being in every public school, and intention to fill in the ones that don't have, because all the assembly of these devices is now local. At Moi University and at Jomo Kenyatta University, the assembly is local. Therefore, with the resources then, I believe we can be able to fill in the gaps that are there because it is local. We want to talk briefly about Kenya Education Cloud, where we are saying all the content should be stored there, and that's what we have done. To ensure that we are hosting this content, it is accessible and we are getting feedback. And there's ethical practice because everything that goes here is quality assured. We'll be able to demonstrate to you our thinking that from Kenya Education Cloud, if one was late in listening to the radio, they can still get that lesson anytime when they need it. That TV lesson they missed, they can still get it. That interactive digital content that Senator went to school and didn't find it there, the teacher can still get it freely and put it in the devices. We will be able to show you that so that you can also help us as we move along to greater heights. And at the end, I'll be indicating what do we think in terms of the future. This is a study we carried out in March. This is the number of people that we covered, and it's a high number. It was countrywide, and we can see the kind of results that it was giving us. We even asked, what devices do you use when you are getting digital content? You can see the devices they use, from radio to Mulikamwizi here. I don't know why we didn't try to Mulikamwizi. It's called a button phone and all that. But these are the devices that the users are using. These users are teachers and students, countrywide. We are saying that the devices are not enough. We should increase them. But then this is the kind of access that we were able to get. In terms of percentages, television, radio, we have a YouTube channel, which even today is indicating, I was checking how many people are also following us in what we are doing here, and I could see about 20, 30. So we have all these, and these are the percentages of what it is doing. We are saying we should be able to increase all this, and we have suggestions and recommendations, and we are making moves with the liaisons with the Communications Authority and other bodies to be able to improve on this. We will share with you so that you can also help us in the same campaign. We checked from grade 3 all the way to Form 4, and this is how we were getting in terms of utilization. So all our learners in one way or another are being able to benefit from this. We even said all learners do the same curriculum, both private and public. So the public is the red, and the private is the one that looks like blue. And you can see it's not very far off. The public was doing more with radio, yes, the private was doing more with TV, and you can see how they lie. So basically, as our CEO indicated, we do studies to inform us, and we do this together with our ministry. So whenever we are doing and going to check this, the Directorate of Primary is with us, Quality Assurance is with us, SNE is with us, so that we can see together and be able to take a corrective action. When we asked them the lessons and the content they are looking at, this is what they gave us. And you can see all the way from grade 1 now, they were able to say they are seeing something, and then all the way from Form 1 to Form 4, they are also having programs that they are able to see. In terms of radio, television, they also gave us the programs they are able to see, and we noted that this is not sufficient. We need to continuously increase because of the variety of learning techniques, differentiated learning, so that the learners can be able to move on. This is put here specifically to be able to say, yes, we have moved on digital content for HI and VI, and we have been able to cover the areas of grade 1, 2, and 3 in the learning areas that are there. And basically we are saying honestly, we go here and we will go, and we'll see that this content is available anytime and from anywhere. Are our people able to access? These are the links we have provided. If it is a school, they can access direct. If it is at the sub-county headquarters, they can be able to access. You remember those constituency innovation hubs where there is free internet? Yes, we are thinking about them, and we are saying they can be able to go there and be able to pick the content using the content access point and take it to the school, and then it is utilized. We are also thinking about the ICT teacher can also be utilized and be able to go and get the content and put it in the devices and take it to school. So in terms of thinking, it is there. In terms of utilization, We are not doing so well, but we can do better. We have thought about the teacher. And then for the teacher, for free, they can learn more about competency-based curriculum. And there is even free internet bundles, which are going to show you they can do for free every day and learn more about CBC. So the fact that there are some who either went, then they have forgotten, this is where to go. In terms of learning areas, our curriculum developers have also put them in a nice way that they can be able to refer and see. Do I want to integrate ICT when I'm teaching? There's material there. Health issues are now prominent, there's material there. And all these are free, and there are some free data bundles every day, only 100 MB, but it's there every day. And because the courses are self-paced, then one can be able to do a module today, another one tomorrow, and be able to go through. So this is already facilitated by the ministry through KICD, and that was the purpose why we started Kenya Education Crowd. Just to check, last week when we checked, these are the number of teachers we saw online. As I was saying when I was there, I was seeing how many are viewing our YouTube channel. We can also see how many teachers are going through the courses. And you can see what we are going through. It's mainly CBC and ICT integration. That is what the teachers are interested in. And that way then it means we should frequently review this and be able to respond to the issues that are coming from the field. Our listening is good, and we'll be able to continuously review together with the TSC and the ministry so that those courses you have seen are good. In conclusion, we are saying that there's a lot of learner-teacher interaction because we saw the teacher was there at the beginning. There's a lot of learner-technology interaction, and this is what should bring the resilience in education. If this formula works, even when things are difficult, we should be there. When we need to catch up, we should be able to catch up, and this would serve both the teachers as well as the learners. Today, Kenya is proud to be the leader in Africa in these places, and we would like to continue at that because even KICD is the center of excellence in curriculum and curriculum support materials. Way forward. Noting that radio coverage is not yet 100% and that we are able to work with other radio stations, community radio, and even faith-based organizations, then we are there with Communications Authority trying to say, can we increase and ensure it is 100% in terms of coverage? Can we work with Communications Authority to see to it that rather than 100 MB per day, this resource is whitelisted completely? Anytime you want to go to education, it is for free. Can we also be able to zero rate? And this is where senators will also be able to help us from your honorable house to zero rate any device that can be used for education. Then it means people can be able to have more devices and be able to get online. To answer the question of books, allow me to quickly go through the process of book distribution. And the launch of book distribution did not start with the CBC. It started way back in 2016. There was a presidential launch of that book distribution to ensure that 1-to-1 ratio is attained and learners can be able to continue learning and no learner is left behind. What has come with the CBC is ensuring that the books are branded, not for sale, Government of Kenya. And this has ensured that the books are in school and they remain in school. We got again a launch of distribution. These were now CBC books, going to schools and being able to help in terms of CBC implementation. No problem. We'll move on. It's only my teaching instinct that told me that. Here we are. So the target is to have a 1-to-1 book ratio, and then to introduce learner-centered learning, and also to bring long life learning so that education can have some resilience. So all this is managed in 2 steps. The first step is the announcement to bring books for evaluation. You can see how open it is. And then once they are evaluated, we go to the next step, where we now only the approved books are considered in terms of cost value for money. And this slide here demonstrates to us how government is getting value for money. If the old system was used, this particular phase, we call it phase 1, would have spent 21 billion. But because of using this method of blooding and being able to provide books direct to schools, the government only spent 7.5 billion. This phase demonstrates that this is a good method, and because we had already shown branding and also quality assurance in technical specs, we were sure that the book will reach the learners and they will be used for a minimum of 4 years. That's how we have looked at the paper and the binding and everything else. But truly, they even go longer. The process of CBC, where the question is that in grade 1, 2, and 3, these are the books that we were able to provide to schools as a ministry. And the quantity of the books and even the cost. Si tulisema kila kitu ni wazi. Even the costs are here. And we are here because as the money moves from the ministry through KICD to the publishers, we are all present to tell you that this is how it is. In grade 4 and grade 5, then SNE books, including hard books for teachers, all this is provided, and this is the total number of books. This is the cost of that. So provision for CBC is the ministry ready. You can see curriculum designs, pupils' books, teachers' guides, teachers' handbooks, SNE materials. The ministry is ready. Process. In terms of quality, we look at the content of the approved materials. You look at it again, does it need improvement? So even today we are saying, if there is any material that needs improvement, let's improve it. After confirmation and branding, we go ahead and have the dummies and then commence mass production and the delivery to schools. You saw the tracks, you saw the packaging. Then we check all that, and finally we do inspection and we monitor. And we are going to see a snapshot of the monitor. Even when things are difficult like this, the ministry insists, can the textbooks get to the school? So we want to agree that some people have told you that they are taken to a distribution center. But then the ministry has clearly said, head teacher, wait for the books in school. The government does not pay any of that money until a delivery note comes. If the teacher waited at school, they would get the books, they would sign the delivery note, it would come, and that is the only time money would be paid. The directors here are very vigilant. If they hear any officer has authorized teachers to go to a center, they do everything including disciplinary action. So let's help ourselves and wait for the books to come to school. Hata mambo ikiwa ngumu, if the student can go to school, even the book can go to school. We checked grade 5 books. Just in July, before the schools opened on 26th of July, 1 week before, we went to schools and we checked. And we found that the figures we had and the figures we did with publishers vis-a-vis the enrollment that was present at that time in school, there was a retro difference of about 0.9. That we know. And that when you are told that the books are not enough, you remember initially there was the surplus. Now they are saying they are not enough. Because maybe a school has 86 learners and there are only 80 books. That difference is known to the ministry. And that difference, we will tell you how the intention is to deal with it. Because then, if there were 80 learners during the taking of the enrollment, and the ministry wrote 86, you'd ask the ministry, how did you get ghost learners? So it had to be exact at that time. But something happened that made that number increase. Let me just remain there for a minute. Sorry. This increased as we were checking and we were asking the head teachers. And we were asking the head teachers, what happened? How comes that you had an enrollment of 80 and now you have 80 students, 86, and you had given 80? Because The data starts from the school to the sub-county to the ministry. Then it is used for the publishers. And they said during COVID, learners increased. And we cannot control the incoming of learners in public schools. When they come, we have to admit them. Some private schools closed. Some parents with schools in private schools could not manage because of jobs and then moved to the public schools. And that begets the reason why you see the difference. So this is a check. You can see here our CEO checking books and interacting with the learners. And here we want to be proud that they're even having masks from KACD for CBC purpose. And we always go for the highest level. In this case, we were going for grade 5. And then we could interact with them. What are the challenges that we have noted? One is timeliness. And we are liaising with the Ministry of Education and the National Treasury. Because look at it this way. We are going to have grade 6 in May. The books must be there January, February, March. Where is the money? These people need to give us the money so that we can engage according to the Act. Because the Procurement Act says, don't procure until you have money. Yet we must provide the books before that time. So there's a lot of liaison going on here where we also need support, and we know we'll get it from you. Then the printing capacity in Kenya, luckily this has increased. All the books are printed in Kenya. It is a condition, no imports. There's a mismatch that we have explained, and the ministry has authorized equalization at county level and sub-county level. Those who could be having slightly more books can give those who have slightly less, and documentation takes place. We are introducing an automatic way of being able to monitor and see the books as they move, so that if there is any challenge, then we can see it. If that process can also be able to tell you if the school has a book by your phone, then it will be good. So that way then we are doing that digital track and trace. Benefits. There's a lot of acceptance of this process, increased in terms of employment, those who are doing transportation, and also the books are secured even during transportation. Quickly again, next action is equalization and rationalization that is already taking place. Doing buffer stocking, if we can be able to fulfill, then if we get money, then we do the other 9% and be able to fulfill, so that we are calling it buffer stock, and then to be ready to give grade 6 in time. Those are our next steps in this area. The reports on monitoring are available and could also be shared so that we are together. We have this project that we are establishing in the Education Resource Center. This center purpose is to be able to look at the competency-based curriculum and be able to see that the curriculum is helping the nation go in the right direction. Today, if we need to do something on the curriculum, we go to the schools. Like us in KACD, Jamhuri High, City Primary are next, but you can see we could be interrupting the laboratory work as we go to test things. So this concept of having this center was arrived at. It is a 6-phase building. Today we are concentrating on this phase. This phase will house the workshops and the laboratories. And those will help us as a country to be able to simulate and check the curriculum and be able to even experiment and try it in terms of going ahead to improve quality and everything else that is necessary. This building has continued to be done, and in terms of the center, these are the phases that I talked about. There are 6 phases. But then today we are concentrating on this phase because it is the one that is directly linking into the curriculum. This is the building we are talking about, and this is where we have reached. You can see it is a bit this is the simulated finished product that we intend to have. And we'll tell you where we are and what we intend to do. When we got the concept ready, and then we got the designs done, the cost was estimated to be this much. This was way back in 2013. And then the government was kind enough and told us, go ahead, get the authorities, and be able to start working on the building, laboratories and workshops. We started on them, and in terms of total cost for them to be operational, this is the estimate. But then so far, we have been able to pay this in terms of consultancy as money provided to us, and also this one as construction, coming to that, and this is what we are lacking at the moment. If that is done, it is operationalized. This is the way it is standing now. So we can see where the money is going. Indeed, even now there is some improvement that we are now removing this so that we can continue with the finishing. This is how the interiors are going, because we are doing both at the same time, outside and inside, so that utilization can take place. What is our request? This financial year, we have been allocated 100 million. So you can see what the 100 million will do. If something can happen, and this is provided, then by end of June, this would be operational. And all the things we need to simulate, experiment on in curriculum can be done here. That would make it more efficient and practical. So today, because we are also learning about CBC, if you have a device and you can take this because you have it, you can go and try it later. But for those who would like to try, let's try to go to this URL address, even in Google. If you go to Google and you just Googled this, it will take you to a place where you will be able to see content. Okay, let's go there. When you go to that place, you are going to it is going to take you to a place where you are going to see, do you want to see early years education? Do you want to see upper primary? Or do you want to see even secondary education? And that way then you are able to move on, interact with it as it is taking you through. So once you choose which level you want to deal with, then you are able to go inside, like there we are. Our brother has been able to get there. Kenya Education Crowd is for free. And then you are able to choose according to the learner's need or teacher's need and be able to go on. So, Kokelo, which one do you want to take us?
Let's go to the special needs.
Special needs, yes. So that we are able to, you can see now we have content for grade 1, for grade 2, and we are finishing from grade 3, and we can be able to also have it in. Go down. Yeah. And you can see all this content is available.
Are we able to see the content?
Yes.
And it's sound, so you can hear the sound.
Let's see for you.
Did you say English?
English.
She wants to see English.
Grade 1. So the learner or the teacher is able to interact and move with the system up to where it is and be able to get that. And most importantly also, can be able to get these materials and be able to put them in the content access point and be able to take them home. Yes. In case you go through this and you have some comments, it's most welcome. If you go there, you'll also find the television content, the radio content, all of it in variety and covering all the levels I indicated from grade 1 all the way to Form 4. For the purpose of time, we move back. So, yeah, let's go to the next one. Get me back to the slides. Yeah. Okay. So that's the way to get to Kenya Education Crowd. And As I go on, if it is a teacher, the courses I told you for teachers are also available here for free. What happened? They are available here for free. A teacher can get here using the phone, using any device, and using any operating system. How do you get your free bundles? It is as simple as *544#, the same way we buy bundles. But this time round, you go to the menu and you see more, because you don't want to buy. You say more. Then it takes you here, you can pick on education bundles, and it gives you this. And you can do it on either number 1 or number 2, but of course, you always go here. You are sure that you are good. And then that gives you the 100 MB data bundles every day and for free. And that way then the teachers can be able to go through and be able to interact with the content, to be able to learn, and even learners can be able to learn. What do we see as the future? It's just 1 or 2 slides here. We see a situation whereby we have a system like this one. This can work anywhere, even where there's no electricity. We have a storage that has content, and that content can be accessed by all these devices, even when there's no internet, and the classroom like this. This is the kind of an education center we are seeing in the future. Supposing you establish that in your counties, then even the learners in difficult places can be able to see. We are seeing a situation where we are working very closely with the NEC to see how learners can be able to see their learning progression, even by the phone. And even the parents can be able, and CBC is good at taking the learners back to the parents so that there can be collaborative learning. And this is the future. One can be able to monitor the learning process by phone. Those 2 slides we are just opening us as to where are we going as we look at this education, because we are not an island. We are within the global environment of digital learning. I would wish to stop there and thank you everybody for listening to me and going through that process of digital learning and availability of books, and say the teacher and the book are the first ones. Then we bring in the digital to emphasize and bring things clearly and have learning experiences that bring in the skills. Thank you.
Wow, I think things are different from when we started. Temperatures are changing. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Let me first of all really thank the director, KICD, together with the deputy, the 2 of them, the director and the deputy. They have done a wonderful job. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You know the director is so excited. When I started praising him, he started coming to it. Okay. Anyway, so let me really thank the 2 directors. That is the director himself and the deputy director from KICD for this great presentation. Indeed, you have opened our eyes, minds, and we have seen that actually KICD has taken step-by-step procedure to actually ensure that CPC is gotten and done in the most correct way. Actually, the simulations that we've seen here, the first presentation, the second presentation, all of it, I think my colleagues will agree with me that if we had gotten this earlier, I think we would have been able to shut the noises that are going on around the country, because of the fact that I think our country is going places. I want to really thank you, because you have really brought out the fact that This one, CPC, is actually in line with the national goals. I think the takeaway, the immediate takeaways will be the fact that CPC is actually aligned to the national goals of education, just apart from actually bringing out the 21st century skills that we've been speaking about in the past, but it was not coming out clearly because we actually are the products of, director was calling it KPC as opposed to CPC. So, but I like this now that you are now combining KPC and CPC. So we shall come up with the best product. We have seen there's a lot of innovation going on in KICD, innovation, a lot of work going on there. And I want to really, really thank you, especially for working very hard to align our curriculum to Constitution 2010. And of course, to be in line with what is going on in the world. I am happy that we are the leader in Africa. And indeed, I want to really congratulate you, together with the Ministry of Education, of course the Ministry of Education, who actually put their foot down. We were wondering, I think Professor should have been here today. I think we should have received a pat on the back from us, because we have been wondering, what type of CS is this? Not cognizant of what is going on outside. But what you have brought out is that he's been speaking from the point of know-how. Knowing what is actually going on. And I want to really thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for what you've done to the education sector. And if you can receive support from all of us, I think we shall go places. I'm very, of course, as the Committee of Education, we want to thank KICD for coming out. This one, number 11 of the institutions in this country, against 227 of them. I think this is no mean achievement, by the way. And for those service institutions, 2 out of 74. That is a position that KICD has taken. And then that is not even the end of the story. They are the best in Africa because of the fact that I think that is what you are calling Msalendo. We are able to recognize them with a gold award for caring for children, as well as the EduTech award being the leader of the year. Congratulations, KICD, for this great achievement. I think this club is for the lazy ones who have done nothing. We cannot go and club like we are about to fold. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed you to go for tea. You know, you got overwhelmed. The information also, you'll all agree with me, but there is a sumptuous lunch that is coming after a short while, so you'll excuse me for not allowing you to go for break. So can we kindly, I think we're better. Hey, senators, did you hear what I've said? I think this is deserved, because I think men are presented, so we'll go beyond. In my culture, we go, there are 3 for women and 4 for men, so we'll go 4. So we'll go flower, keep them. Again, flower, keep them. Up to 4. Okay. I think Senator Sane can stand up and do as I have said. Okay, let us go. 1, 2, 3, flower, keep them. 1, 2, 3, flower, keep them. 1, 2, 3, flower, keep them. And the final one, 2, 3, flower, keep them. Thank you. Huh? Oh, and I simply just take it this way. No, I simply just received this way. Okay, so thank you very much. I think as a Senate, we shall go, actually, as a Senate, we shall present to the floor of the House what we have gotten from this workshop today, and very many of the issues will come out. And I think we shall be able to actually quench the thirsts that our colleagues have been wanting to know. And of course, when we speak in the floor of the House, we are actually speaking to the whole world. So you'll realize that what we are getting from you today is going to spread like wildfire right across the country, because in a short while, we are going to present. So I want to say that, just like I said earlier, we delayed in bringing you on board, but then we'll go to actually ensure that we engage and engage more, and then see how we can assist you. Maybe in terms of legislation, you can bring out what you want us to do, and then at the same time, I think we should be speaking about zero rating at the gadgets, so that we supply to the remaining 1,119 schools, and to ensure. I think it is unfortunate, my colleagues, you can't imagine that Treasury is sitting on funding that should have provided books for the kids that are joining standard 6 classes in May. Surely we have been blaming the Ministry of Education, KICD, or the entire fraternity for nothing. Actually, the blame should go back, to the Treasury and those that are concerned with.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
No, we can raise a statement on this.
Yeah, in fact, as a committee.
As a committee, this is a statement on the House,
Mm.
and we are able to engage with.
Together with the issue of zero rating the gadgets. No, clerk, our clerk, Ringera, kindly listen fast. When the chair is on our feet, you got to. No, I'm sorry, with a light touch. Okay, so what we are saying is we need to raise a statement on this. As Kimodo was presenting, we got to learn that there are 1,190 schools that have not received gadgets. And right now we are transiting, the classes are now transiting to the next, in May we shall be, it is standard 6 right now, and grade 6. Grade 5 will be going to grade 6, isn't it? In May. And then at the same time, Treasury has not released money to prepare for the learning and teaching materials. So books are not prepared, we do not have gadgets, and then we keep on shouting at the top of the roof that actually this education is a failure, it is a hoax, and I think this one should stop from now henceforth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kindly.
Yes.
I think also in our report,
Mm.
we can include all that.
Yeah, in fact, in our report, but then I think we are going to raise a statement as a committee over this zero rating of gadgets, and at the same time, the delay in terms of preparation. Preparation includes dispersing cash to ensure books are prepared and whatever we got it. I think later on we shall have some plenary, because when I gave my remarks, there were a lot of questions. Senator Sane had some questions. Senator Musrube had some questions too. We shall have but then, just before we go, we'll still have 2 presentations, by the way, from TSC and NEC. We still have 2 presentations, but then I think we need to give ourselves just a short break. Maybe a break over how many minutes? 10, yeah. I'm sorry, imagine T was there. So people felt that there was nobody to take, and then it was taken away. You'll forgive us. I think 10 minutes is better for us to stretch. Then we'll come back, listen to the TSC, listen to NEC, and then we'll go for yes.
Yeah, if I could make a proposal, it's at 12:30.
Yeah.
We've sat here for quite a bit, and we have the presentations and then into plenary. Why don't we take a lunch break up to 2, come and do the presentations, and then directly into plenary when we ask all the questions when we put it all together. So that we have the presentations and then plenary. Because it is now 12:30, by the time we listen to the presentations, it will be much later. It's just a proposal.
No, what is happening? I think presentations are not much. Can they take a long time, really? No, and that because I'm seeing in the after lunch we have a lot of issues, a lot of interactions, and I think that will be, we can speak as much as we want. If you'll agree with me, is 10 minutes enough for us to just stretch ourselves outside, come back, and then very briefly, even maybe without interactions, we can come and we leave it, and then we go for lunch. Now come to the plenary. Yes. And then no. Let us. I think photo session when we are going for lunch. Yeah, to avoid. To avoid disrupting. I think TSC and NEC are really panning with information. So I don't want that information to get lost. Okay, so brief. Okay, please, can we stand up and go for the short break? Yes.
Can we just have a quick
Yeah, okay. Sorry, briefly allow us. This is how we walk. Because actually our success is because of all this. What I said earlier, the hotel management is saying lunch is ready for us now. And I hope the planning issues and the information that NEC and TSC have cannot evaporate because of lunch. But we got to take care of the stomach clinic as well. So if we can, you'll forgive us for moving like so. But when we come back, I think what we'll be able to do, we can combine even some of the questions so that as DSC, as NEG is speaking, they can be answering some of the questions. That is what our secretariat are saying. Normally there is a way we report so that we put information together. Otherwise, let me thank you for this patience. And I think therefore that means lunch is served when we rise up. And then we'll request you, we'll all go to the lunch venue in the hotel right away. But then I think we need to take very quickly, we can take a photo, then we go, and then I think we'll give ourselves how long for lunch, members? Now we are all members. Yes. Okay, excuse me. Order, please. Oh, sorry. Okay. So order now. So